government. We need trade and industry to come and take these counterfeit goods that are lying on the street that are being sold to our people. So all those things are really damaging the economy, and that's why the economy is not growing. That's why jobs are not being created. So we need a mayor that will be able to set that tone. And we hope that after this statement that he has withdrawn, that we won't hear many of them coming from this.
From Action SA's perspective, what role do you think documented foreign nationals can play in supporting law enforcement to fight crime, if any?
No, I think the law enforcement agencies, they are there to fight crime. We as residents, whether we are South Africans or we are foreigners who are documented here, we need to work with them in many aspects of our society, whether it's as CPF members or whatever. We need to be able to participate and assist in curbing crime. We need to be whistleblowers. You can imagine documented foreigners who know who are illegal in this country and are able to report all those illegalities to police. It will help police to quickly apprehend those people. So we must participate, all of us, and contribute in fighting crime, but not to be employed as South African police services or the MPD. It's illegal, it's against the Act, and it won't help us.
I thank you so much for your time. Action SA's Gauteng Provincial Caucus leader, Funzi Ngobeni, and as you heard from him, that statement or the proposal has been withdrawn. So we'll take a look at that and your comments too, but we'll get there just now. Let's now go to this story. The National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union, NEHAWU, is suing the ANC and its KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Secretary, Beckham Mtholo, for 2 million rand. Now, the lawsuit follows public accusations made by Beckham Mtholo in Kokstad, where he blamed NEHAWU for poor service delivery in government departments such as Home Affairs and SASSA. The union has filed a lawsuit at the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Joining me now is NEHAWU's KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Secretary, Ayanda Zulu. Very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Elvis. Good morning to all the listeners of SAfm.
Mr. Zulu, can you first elaborate on the specific accusations that was made by Beckham Mtholo that led to you as NEHAWU to decide to sue the ANC and him personally?
I do think that you remember that a few weeks ago there was a widely shared clip in social media and also even in media, where he said that NEHAWU is responsible for the bad state of the public service. If you go to hospitals, it's our members that are responsible for the long queues that are there. He said that the same thing happens when you go to SASSA, when you go to Home Affairs. We don't give people, our communities, the services that they deserve. When you go to the Department of Labor, it's our members that are inspectors, that are selling out farm workers in exchange to get ships. Is that even when you go to forensic pathology, we don't give services to our people that we don't help them when their loved ones have passed on. So it's that particular issue that he said. You remember that NEHAWU as a union is not the sole bargaining agent. So it's not all members of that. It's not all workers that are employed by the public service that are members of NEHAWU. We responded as the union to say workers in the public service are facing multiple crises, understaffing that is there. That is why as NEHAWU we have always been on the forefront to say the department or the public service need to address the issue of austerity measures that find expression through understaffing. We also responded on multiple crises that are there in the public service that have got an impact more especially on long queues that are there. When you go to Home Affairs, it's not NEHAWU that is responsible for the IT systems, because sometimes when you go to Home Affairs, you will find that the systems are done. We made a comprehensive response in giving him a short lecture in terms of the state of the public sector. But I'm sure that you are aware now that the matter is going to court. Some of the part of the issues I can no longer speak about them here in Meta, but it was important that we give a historical background.
Yes. Now, so, but given the historical symbiosis between NEHAWU, your affiliation to COSATU, who's part of the Tripartite Alliance, and the ANC, doesn't this legal action against a high-ranking ANC official risk precipitating a rift within the Tripartite Alliance?
What we have done, we remember that COSATU, the Federation in KwaZulu-Natal, issued a statement in our support. The South African Communist Party in KwaZulu-Natal issued a statement in our support. We further wrote to the ANC as the union now to raise these particular issues, and there was no response forthcoming. For us, we were then directed by our members that we need to issue this process, because this really tarnishes the image of the union. Just after this statement, I think if you follow media, you will see that when you go to Empangeni, the clinic in Empangeni and Angolezana Hospital, the patient and the community assaulted our member, that is a nurse. There was a same incident in another hospital where the doctor also assaulted.
Can we get to the point, Mr. Zulu? Will that not create a rift?
We obviously there will be issues that will be there. But as I've made indication, we tried to reach out to the leadership of the ANC, and we didn't get any reception.
All right, that's where we got to leave it. I thank you so much. That was Ayanda Zulu, NEHAWU's KZN Provincial Secretary. We formally invited the African National Congress in KZN, as well as Bekim Tolo, to participate in the interview with us, but unfortunately, we have not received a response from them thus far. But that's where we got to leave it. From the team this morning, Tapelo Sibanyoni, Tracy Bumgart, and Murumo Kakana, our technical producer Mark Prella, our executive producer Vutsila Kota, Melvis Preslin. We'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Ciao for now. Arrivederci!
Thank you, Elvis. Top stories at 6. The Hawks report on arrests of high-profile individuals and farms destroyed by devastating fires in the Eastern Cape. For SAfm News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. The Hawks National Head Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebeya says the responsibility of recovering stolen state funds lies with both his Crime Investigation Unit and the National Prosecuting Authority. He says the Hawks have made a significant progress in arresting high-profile individuals suspected of serious crimes including corruption, fraud and money laundering. Most of the arrests have been made in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Lebeya addressed the media in Pretoria yesterday.
We haven't dealt with the recovery. The amount that we talk about when it comes to the recovery is in the field of priority crime specialized investigation. That is, we work closely with the asset forfeiture unit of the NPA. So it's not necessarily the responsibility of the Hawks on its own to recover, because that is a civil part. So we deal with a criminal part.
Less than a week before the two-part retirement system takes effect, COSATU says it has proposed a lesser tax regime for low-income workers who want access to their funds. The Labour Federation says it also wants the system to allow workers to access funds for education and in cases in which people lose their jobs. The 2024 Revenue Laws Amendment Bill was recently published for public comment. The bill is expected to allow for further pension reforms. COSATU's parliamentary coordinator is Matthew Parks.
So we already have engagements now about the next round of amendments, which includes ensuring that when a worker loses a job, they have access to everything. We also made a few other proposals. Can we make the tax regime a bit more favourable to low-income workers, less of a burden to them? Can we also look at allowing workers greater access to their existing savings beyond September? And could we look at allowing workers access to the pension fund to fund education, an education loan, for example? Because education is an investment in your child, in their own career and earning potential, and of course it benefits you when you are retired because your children will actually help take care of you in your retirement.
Some informal vendors in Wallisodden and Kluifontein outside Cape Town say their businesses are struggling because they are forced to pay a protection fee. Others are abandoning their stalls fearing for their lives. In a recent incident, one of the vendors was shot for allegedly failing to pay a protection fee. The vendors allege that multiple gangs are extorting money from them. 25-year-old Mkhululi Ndlovu is one of the affected vendors.
They come and collect money for protection. They say it's protection fee. Now I must budget 1 July, 1 September, they come and collect 300 rand of protection fee. It's affecting me a lot. There's people who are working there. You see this guy over here, he's working there by Kisanyama. I must pay him 1,000.
Farmers in the small town of Cathcart in the Eastern Cape are counting their losses as veld fires rage in the province. The South Weather Services has predicted heavy winds for the area, causing concerns among farmers. The cause of the fires remains unknown. The authorities are on high alert. One of the affected farmers, Chris Purden, has described the situation as devastating.
We've probably got about 90% loss of veld and major damage to infrastructure, fences, poles, pipelines, that sort of thing. It's just a massive destructive force that came through.
News from afar, the Lebanon-based group Hezbollah says it is assessing of its huge rocket and drone barrage of Israel yesterday. Israel says there's been little damage. Sirens sounded again in central Israel. Hamas also says it has fired rockets at Tel Aviv from Gaza. The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says his country will do all it can to stop the regional war from breaking out.
We have been concerned about the conflict escalating into an all-out regional war since October 7th, and we have worked round the clock with partners and allies, moving military assets, engaging in intensive diplomacy, both publicly and privately behind the scenes, to avert that outcome. We continue to work to avert that outcome, and our hope is that the events do not spill out into an escalation that leads to regional war.
Recapping the top story, the Hawks National Head Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebeya says the responsibility of recovering stolen state funds lies with both his Crime Investigation Unit and the National Prosecuting Authority. I am Ondelambana for SAfm News. Headlines at 6:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Update on the Swinburne area between Harrismith and Funnerians. The road was closed for a few hours overnight last night due to a massive truck fire. They've managed to get a contraflow in operation on the Joburg-bound carriageway, so you've got a really big, substantial backlog of traffic that built up during the closure and then just being released sort of onto single-lane sections, so quite lengthy queues north of Funnerian Village and just south of Swinburne in the Free State. That's where that particular incident is unfolding. N3, driving into Joburg, quite heavy this morning. Queues up towards the Heidelberg Road exit if you're in from Germiston, Sprayview, Fosterus side. Looks like a big trouble there. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. And motorists driving in and out of Durban, good news, the N3 opened on time after an over weekend closure between Pavilion and Spaghetti Junction. It's all lanes open and normal flows. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SAfm sports headlines, it's the Proteas. They go on to lose, and that's from a winning position as the West Indies take the series. And in Formula One news, it's Lando Norris who stuns, Max Verstappen to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Details around 6:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
It is 7 minutes after 6 a.m. Good morning and welcome to the Monday edition of SAfm Breakfast. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. Really do appreciate it. The last time I left you, I had no voice. I've got about 90% of my voice back today, and I hope that you and I can engage in fruitful conversations. Coming up on the show this morning, we're going to be talking to the Democratic Alliance. They seem to want to use their coalition relationship with the ANC in the Government of National Unity coalition to broker with President Ramaphosa to drop the national health insurance. They dismissed the claims made by the Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, saying that he wasn't part of the GNU conversation, so they're not going to be talking to him, they're going to be talking to the President. We're going to be speaking to the DA about that. In fact, it must be noted that the NHI has been signed into law. So what exactly are they asking of the President to do? We're going to be speaking to them. Then a little bit later on, we're going to be speaking to the Department of Water and Sanitation, and they're sounding the alarm on the water mafia. We're going to be asking them what they're doing to intervene and to make sure that they safeguard the integrity of water supply in South Africa and not succumb to the demands and tyranny of criminal syndicates and networks through extortionist practices. And then in the 7 o'clock hour, and I do want you to stick around for it, we're going to be speaking to the MMC of Public Safety in the city of Johannesburg about that Jeppy Town fire that took place over the weekend. It's important that we get into the meat and the detail of what the city is doing over there and who owns the building. How much do we know about the building that took ablaze on Sunday morning? And more importantly, what is the city going to be doing about it? All of that and more coming up on the show this morning. So do stick around. Give us a call on 086 000 2032. I'm also taking your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Tweet me. It is at Oliver_speaking on Twitter. Oliver Dixon on Facebook. 9 minutes after 6.
Get ready for a magical night filled with hope and positivity at the Night of Hope event, 25th August, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. live. Join Lotus FM Pastor Niven Lauman for a special 2-hour broadcast of the Gospel Hour live at one of Durban's most prestigious venues, the Durban Christian Center Dome. This will be a historic reach, calling the greater Durban community to come together for a night of prayer and embrace, together with SABC to present live from the venue to a greater South African audience. Tickets are free. Secure your spot by booking online through Cricket today. Don't miss out on this unforgettable, historic night for South Africa. See you there.
SAfm is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAfm and SMS the keyword SAfm88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy
SAfm Breakfast, helping you navigate your day.
11 minutes after 6 o'clock, let's take a look at your weather today here on the 26th of August. It is a Monday. We start out with yellow level 2 warnings for wind and waves resulting in difficulty in navigation at sea expected between Cape Columbine and Cape Agulhas spreading eastwards. And you can expect a high fire danger warning for conditions expected over the eastern parts of the Northern Cape, the western and southern parts of the Northwest, the central and extreme northeastern parts of the Free State, and the Beaufort West municipality. And here's an important advisory. A series of cold fronts is expected to affect the Western and Northern Cape, with very cold conditions on Tuesday, spreading into the Eastern Cape on Wednesday and persisting into Thursday. The public and small stock farmers are advised that heavy downpours are possible over the southwestern parts of the Western Cape on Wednesday, snowfall over the mountains of the Western Cape and southwestern high ground of the Northern Cape and the mountains of the Eastern Cape. Strong to gale force wind over the interiors and coastal winds associated with very rough seas can be expected. Otherwise, on your indicators this morning, you can expect in Johannesburg a high of 28. Fine weather to be expected over there. Vereeniging will be reaching a high of 27, while Mbombela will be reaching a high of 30. Fine weather to be expected there as well. Bulukwane and Mahikeng will be reaching a high of 28 and 29, respectively, with fine weather conditions. In Vryburg, you can expect fine and windy weather with a high of 30. 27 in Bloemfontein, with also to be expected to be fine and windy. Kimberley will be reaching a high of 29, fine and windy there as well, same as in Uppington with a high of 28. Cape Town will be reaching a high of 16. It will be cloudy with rain in Cape Town. You can expect a fresh to strong northerly to northwesterly wind. You can expect a high of 24 in Gqeberha with fine weather. You can expect a moderate to fresh southwesterly wind over there, while in East London you can expect a high of 27, fine weather there with a light northwesterly wind. In Durban you can expect a high of 28. Partly cloudy at first, otherwise fine. You can expect a light northwesterly wind in the morning, otherwise moderate to northeasterly. And in Richards Bay, you can expect a high of 32. Partly cloudy at first, otherwise fine, with a moderate to fresh northeasterly. In Pietermaritzburg, you can expect morning fog, otherwise it will be fine with a high of 32. 13 minutes after 6.
SA Women Struggles Journal. #Women's Month. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development, SAfm celebrates the power, resilience and brilliance of women. It's Women's Month and we honoring the incredible contributions of women in our communities, our workplaces and our homes. Join SAfm in recognizing the achievements, strengths and spirit of women everywhere. Let's uplift and empower each other today and every day. SAfm, leading the conversations that move us. The Daily News Diary on SAfm.
14 and a half minutes after 6 o'clock, it is the Daily News Diary. This morning we speak to Ondela Mbana on the news desk. Ondela, good morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Oliver. Good morning.
Well, I'm assuming that it's going to be a busy day keeping eyes on the city of Joburg, trying to make sense of the Jeppe Town fire there. What's on the news diary this morning?
So thank you, Oliver. So on today's diary, we start with the Charlotte case by Ace Mahashule's former PA. So the Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to hear the urgent application of Charlotte's case today. Charlotte's legal team has argued that the case, the 255 million rand asbestos corruption and fraud charges against her emerged from her refusal to comply with the state's demand for specific testimony. Charlotte is out on bail of 2,500 rand. We will wait for our reporter Makhala Masiteng to give us more on that case today. And we move to Mpumalanga. The Nelspruit Regional Court in Mbombela is expected to hand down sentence in the case of 42-year-old Pastor Dumisani Khumalo in June. Court found him guilty of raping a 14-year-old girl at a sports ground in Kabokweni. This happened 4 years ago. Khumalo offered the minor and her friend a lift to a local shopping complex, and upon arrival, Khumalo requested the victim to remain in the car and instructed her friend to go inside the shop. Khumalo then sped to the sports ground where he committed the crime.
Wow.
We now move to the Eastern Cape. The Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape says additional teams are expected to arrive from the Western Cape to assist with addressing power outages in that municipality. And the estimated restoration time for the power outage in 14 areas of the municipality has been reduced from 14 to 7 days. And a transformer has already been installed at the South End substation, which I feel is that's good news for the municipality. And the workforce has been increased as well, and working hours have been extended to ensure faster restoration.
Yeah.
And in Gauteng, the health department will today open a newly extended unit for burn victims at the Krisani Baragwanath Academic Hospital in Soweto. MEC Nkomo Ralihogo and the VET's Vice Chancellor and the Principal Professor Zebulon Vilagazi will jointly officially open the unit. The unit will cater for close to 1,000 burn patients each year. The department says this will help to improve the quality of service the hospital offers. We now move to international news. The ICC judges are yet to respond to the court's top prosecutor, Karim Khan's request. He's seeking arrest warrants for individuals, including the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar over their atrocities in Gaza and Israel. That's it for today.
That's going to be a very fascinating judgment coming out of the ICC. Whether or not they're going to grant that warrant of arrest, because it will have some serious implications for the rest of the world. Ondela, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. 17 minutes after 6.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
Every day our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org.
Last year finalists Kabuyelo Masandawana trust that high-level focus will return them to the final. Meanwhile, Stellies plan to dismantle all of that and book the vital ticket to the last 22-man standing. This is the second leg of the MTN 8 semi-final. Stellenbosch FC clashes with Mamelodi Sundowns FC on Sunday, 1st September at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
A touch beneath 20 minutes after 6 o'clock. Tensions are rising between Hezbollah and the Israeli government. Very specifically, what's been happening over the weekend is that Hezbollah has been firing rockets into Israel, and Israel had returned with an even bigger barrage of strikes with 100 jets towards to bigger attacks out in Israel. But the question is, what implication does this have for Lebanon, and will we see ourselves edging closer to a full-scale war between Lebanon and Israel? Joining us to make sense of this is Dr. Kingsley Makubela, who's a risk analyst and a former diplomat and public relations executive. Dr. Makubela, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Does Lebanon have the appetite for a full-scale war with Israel?
Irony of the situation is that both sides, both Hezbollah and Israel, they purport not to want to climb the escalation ladder for a full-scale war, and yet the activities on the ground are actually pointing to the opposite direction. Hassan Nasrallah made it quite clear that he has no appetite for a full-scale conflict or war with Israel. And Israel has said the same thing. But if you see events of this weekend, have been really unprecedented. 320 rockets and drones were fired by Hezbollah, and he claims to have hit 11 Israeli military bases, including the Meron military base, which is the biggest military base in northern Israel.
What can we expect from Lebanon going forward? Because they've said that they don't have much of an appetite to continue with this. They've also put out a statement saying they're not going to be firing any more rockets. While we know that Hezbollah isn't officially the state military of Lebanon, it does seem to receive quite a lot of state support.
Well, Hezbollah has been a de facto military power in southern Lebanon, if you want to say so. And they've been really holding on. I mean, if you look at the incursion of Israel and the bombardment that has been happening during the course of this weekend, it's on a strip of 5 kilometers deep into Lebanon. And Hezbollah has been holding the defense. And even the government in Lebanon, they know and they depend to a very large extent on the defense by Hezbollah. Even though Hezbollah and of course the Lebanese government, there's no appetite to go for a full-scale war. But as I'm saying, events on the ground are pointing to a build-up to a full-scale war. You know, Oliver, there's what it's called security dilemma, meaning that each side prepares to defend itself, and the other side does the same in anticipation of conflict. And a small thing can spark a full-scale war. There's been a huge military build-up in that part of the world. The Americans have sent large quantities of weapons to Israel and so on. And Hezbollah has been armed by its allies, including Iran and so on. So the tension is there, the build-up is there, and any disinformation, and given the question of, fake news and so on, may spark a very serious conflict between the two. And the Americans actually, it's not in their interest at this time also to ensure a full-scale war, even though they keep on sending large quantities of weapons to Israel.
Yeah, there is the question around whether or not Iran will also exert pressure on Israel as Hezbollah is doing it with the support of the Lebanese government. Of course, putting in context here that the fear around Iran is that it may be in possession of nuclear arms and that it may have the artillery to be able to escalate this all the way to the top. Does Israel have to fear the potential of Iran growing an appetite of engaging in a full-scale war with them?
You know, there's been tension building up since the assassination of Hamas leader in Tehran between Israel and Iran. And Iran has actually officially made it a point that they would retaliate. They informed the Security Council in New York that they reserve the right to retaliate because of the violation of their sovereignty. So that tension has been building up. But there's been an understanding that Iran is holding back because of the negotiation for a ceasefire, because it didn't want to be seen to sabotage the negotiation for the ceasefire. They've made it quite clear in the last few days that they still intend to retaliate and punish Israel seriously for that.
Is there the potential of a ceasefire seems to be growing thinner and thinner over time as Joe Biden hasn't been able to clinch a ceasefire deal with Netanyahu? Is that still on the table?
You know, Israel, last night, I think they sent their delegation, which consists of the heads of Mossad and Shin Bet, back to Qatar for the negotiation. There are two sticking points that are holding on that negotiation. It's a question of the Philadelphia Strip that really links up with Egypt and provides lifeline support. That's one issue that Israel says it reserves the right to keep its military presence there. And the question of permanent ceasefire. Hamas wants permanent ceasefire. And in the absence of permanent ceasefire, Hamas thinks that there's no negotiation. So the stalling of the ceasefire is on these two issues. And there's been a thinking that Israel is being unreasonable, and I think voices are coming out from the administration that Israel is unreasonable, particularly with respect to the question of the Philadelphia Strip.
Yeah. Should a ceasefire deal not be closed by the end of this year, and one that is sustainable, a lot more substantive than the previous ceasefire deals, does that mean that Iran will give up hope on diplomatic resolutions and then arm up to defend Palestine?
Well, you know, what they call the axis of resistance are really prepared for anything, including the Houthis and everyone, even groups within Iraq, for the defense of the Palestinians. So the tension will keep on rising if there's no solution for a permanent ceasefire. That's what Hamas is looking for. And I think it's not unreasonable to expect Hamas to demand a permanent ceasefire, because a temporary reprieve that will keep the IDF still in Gaza, it's not sustainable for Hamas. It's not victory for Hamas. So there's a need of a give and take at one stage. But it seems Israel has made it quite clear that it's not willing to do that. Israel is still hell-bent on the total obliteration of Hamas, which the military says is quite impossible. I mean, the IDF says it's impossible to achieve that goal.
Yeah, I mean, more than 40,000 Palestinians having been killed so far, and the tally keeps going up. The vast majority of them being children, vulnerable children. Given that there's a change of administration in the U.S. currently underway, we're going to be going into 2025 with a new U.S. administration that has to perhaps send a renewed message around its support for Israel. Do we see the confluence of these factors? The fact that Iran may arm up, the fact that Lebanon and Hezbollah are also willing to attack, and the fact that the U.S. may scale back its military support, potentially, for Israel. Should we see a rechanged attitude from IDF and from Netanyahu in the last quarter of this year?
Oliver, you know, if the U.S. wants a ceasefire to happen in that country, it can happen. They can stop supply of military weapons. 2 weeks ago, they made a commitment of 20 billion military support to Israel. But I think the likely changes that may happen at the White House, if Donald Trump goes to the White House, the irony is that for the very first time, the Republican will push for global peace. The Democrats have seen a lot of hawks who are actually hell-bent on conflict around the world and raises the tension about the potential for a third world war. But the Republicans this time are quite timid. The Republicans are quite looking forward for a peaceful resolution of some of this conflict. So looking at the statements that are coming from Donald Trump, you are likely to see an approach that seeks the resolution of these hotspots around the world, not only in the Middle East, in Europe, and all over the world.
The language seems to be quite different on the campaign trail. Donald Trump seems to echo the IDF and Netanyahu's sentiments of the complete obliteration of Hamas.
No, actually, Donald Trump, his view is that there must be peace. Donald Trump has made a very strong statement around the killing of children, that you can't justify the massacre of children in Gaza and so on. So he's come out quite open about that. And Donald Trump is not a system person. He doesn't follow the system. He follows his own intuitions. And his intuition is likely to become his administration policy and approach to some of these issues.
Yeah. Dr. Makubela, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks
really
very much.
Appreciate your insights. Yeah, we're going to continue following that story for you. Give us a call on your reaction to that. 086 000 2032. It's 6:30. Let's take your latest headlines.
Thank you, Oliver. News headlines at 6:30 on SAfm. I am Ondalambana, and a very good morning. The Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to hear the urgent application of the former Premier Ace Magashule's personal assistant to have her arrest declared unlawful. And the Hawks National Head, Lieutenant General Godfrey Libya, says the responsibility of recovering stolen state funds lies with both his Crime Investigation Unit and the National Prosecuting Authority. And the U.S. says it's working hard to avoid a further escalation in hostilities between Israel and the Lebanese-based militant group Hezbollah. Yesterday saw the biggest clashes in 10 months of border fighting. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
There's some heavy traffic coming in from the Val area this morning. If you're on the R59 driving up to Joburg, it looks like an incident just before you get to the Clip River Drive exit. So quite heavy backlogs. You might want to off-ramp before that just to avoid hitting it and entering a big sort of slowdown on your way up to Joburg. Also an incident just on the N3 North before Heidelberg Road. So quite heavy passing Sprayview this morning. Off-ramp there at Leondale. Hit the Heidelberg Road that runs parallel and then come back on at the Heidelberg Road on-ramp. That'll bypass that one for you. Also, just watch for a crash on the R21 South near the Benoni exit. No noticeable backlog there, but just watch for vehicles slowing at that speed. Funrina's passed through to Harry Smith via Swinburne on the N3. Lengthy queues of traffic this morning. An overnight truck fire incident closed the road for a while. Back traffic substantially. It's all being released into a contraflow, but there's a really long queue to clear through. Cape Town, some rain about the mother city this morning, so do take it easy. Give yourself time to get through. M7, very slow. Jakes Curvell Drive coming through from Morgansteer side, exiting Mitchell's Plain all the way up to the R300. It's a lot worse, a lot heavier than normal. And just if you're driving in or out of Quebec, the N2 this morning between Bluewater Bay and the city centre is open after a few days of flood-related issues coming in from the sea there. Floodwaters in from the sea. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Sai Khan.
A very good morning. Let's start with cricket. The Proteas crumbled from a strong position to lose by 30 runs to West Indies in their second T20 international, conceding the series 2-0. Chasing 180, the Proteas reached 129 for 3, but lost their last 7 wickets for just 20 runs. Reza Hendricks gave a solid start with 44 of 18 balls, but Romario Shepherd's 3 for 15 turned the game on its head, with Shamar Joseph also taking 3 for 31. Now, Captain Aidan Markram vowed to learn from the loss as they prepare for the final game tomorrow. Rugby action, Pumas made to work hard but eventually powered their way to a bonus point 45-26 win over the Griffins in their Currie Cup clash that took place in Welcome. The Pumas outscoring the Griffins 7 tries to 4, but were put under immense pressure in the first half, which saw them trailing 14-12. The result now moves the Pumas onto 24 points, level on the log with 4th place Cheetahs, who stay ahead of them on points difference with 2 pool rounds remaining. Soccer action, the Kenyan club Gor Mahia hammered South Sudanese visitors Al Maraik Bentiu 5-1 to secure a CAF Champions League final qualifying round clash, and that's with the title holders Al Ahly of Egypt. Elsewhere, Arne Slot enjoyed a winning bow as Liverpool boss at Anfield, with Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah scoring 2-0. That was their win over Brentford. The Reds joined Manchester City, Arsenal and Brighton as the only sides with maximum points from 2 games of the new Premier League season. Tennis action, the number 13 seed Ben Shelton, the American who reached the semi-finals at the US Open, will take on the champion Dominic Thiem. Now, Thiem received a wild card in what will be his final Grand Slam tournament before retiring. Shelton looking ahead to that match.
He held the trophy here at the end of the 2 weeks, which, not many people in the world can say that they've done. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity, and just excited to kick it off. I think the fans will love this type of matchup, and I'm just going to soak it all in.
Golf action, Lydia Ko ended an 8-year major drought by claiming the AIG Women's Open after a tense finish in blustery conditions at St Andrews. The New Zealander, who won the Olympic gold medal earlier this month, birdied the last as she closed with a 3 under par 69 to win her 3rd major on 7 under. The world number 1, Nelly Korda, led by 2 on the 14th tee, but took 7 shots on the par 5 hole and then bogeyed the 17th as she faded to finish alongside Wu Yin and Jia Shin in a joint 2nd on 5 under. And finally, motorsport, Lando Norris delivering a masterclass at the Dutch Grand Prix, securing his 2nd win of the season and stunning the home favourite Max Verstappen. Despite a fast start from Verstappen, Norris's McLaren gained momentum, overtaking the Red Bull driver by lap 18. Norris extended his lead to over 10 seconds, eventually winning by a commanding 22.8 second margin. Verstappen was struggling with grip issues. He couldn't close the gap, marking his first loss in front of the home crowd. Now, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc taking 3rd. The narrow victory means Verstappen championship lead is to 70 points. Let's hear from the race winner, Lando Norris.
I knew beating Max would be a tough task today, but the car was amazing. The car felt incredible out there, and I had a lot of confidence. I could push pretty much throughout the whole race. It's incredible to remind ourselves of where we were and what we're able to achieve now. You know, getting lapped by Red Bulls most races to beating them by 20 something seconds today. It just shows the work that we've been putting in.
More sport, top of the hour for SAfm Breakfast. I'm Zai Khan.
You know what Saturday is, right?
Woohoo! Ellis Park. And it's been regenerated now, eh? It's all brand new, everything.
I saw Prasa was launching a campaign about trains going to Ellis Park.
Hey!
Yeah, it's exciting times.
World class city, here we come.
So we wish. I'm a bit worried. I'm not going to say where, but the Springboks spent their Sunday, which is yesterday, playing golf instead of, practicing rugby or resting.
Maybe golf has something strategic to do with the way they go for that hole-in-one sometimes. I don't know.
It worries me. Especially Damien Dalinda. Apparently he shot the lowest score on the day. I'm not going to reveal the golf course.
What?
Somewhere here in Joburg. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about that. So I hope they get their heads in the game and don't think it's going to be a walkover against the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Squad announcements tomorrow, I think, from the Springboks.
Woohoo!
Yeah, 37 minutes after 6.
There's listening to the news. Then there's making the news. Grow your business into the next big thing with Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking.
The Business Update on SAfm.
37 minutes after 6, and Darling Lichel is back with us for the business update this morning. In our first business update, we start with PwC and Darling. They facing a ban in China. Talk to us about that 6-month ban.
Morning, Oliver. So the accounting firm is in hot water for its auditing work for China's Evergrande. Now that's a troubled property developer that sparked the countrywide property crisis. And according to sources, PwC has been responsible for auditing Evergrande's financials for almost 14 years. Now, the business ban is said to be imposed on PwC's Chinese unit, Zhongtian, and it includes a 6-month business ban as well as a fine, which is expected to be about $56 million. This will likely target Zhongtian's business related to securities, impacting its services for clients such as publicly traded companies planning to go public, and investment funds in China. Now, the business ban might only be 6 months. However, it's said to also affect its ability to take on new clients. Sources say that unit won't be able to take on new government owned business clients as well as publicly traded clients for the next 3 years. Now, PwC has already lost its biggest client in the region, Bank of China, on the back of the ongoing investigations. And it's not the only Big Four firm that's actually under scrutiny right now. Last year, Deloitte's Beijing branch was fined by Chinese authorities, and the branch's operations were suspended for about 3 months after issues were found in its audit for a asset management company in China.
Now, this is an interesting acquisition. Chanel, they are acquiring a watchmaker.
Yes, it's growing its watchmaking portfolio by picking up a 25% stake in luxury Swiss watchmaker MB&F. Now, the price tag and terms of the deal have not been revealed. However, the firm's founder, Maximilian Basser, will still own 60% of the company, the majority stake, and his business partner will then own 15%. Now, this isn't the first time Chanel dips its fingers into the watchmaking space. It currently has stakes in 2 other high-end watchmakers. The Chanel and MB&F deal comes after the watchmaker tripled sales, and it's said to give MB&F financial stability while boosting the French fashion brand's standing in the luxury watchmaking industry. Now, there's been questions surrounding the timing of the deal, considering that the luxury watchmaking market hasn't been faring too well. According to a Morgan Stanley report, prices for luxury Swiss watches have been falling. In the second quarter, that market experienced a 2.1% decline in sales, marking the 9th consecutive quarter of declining prices since 2022.
Yeah, and the markets are going to have a lot to mull over that happened over the weekend. How did they close on Friday, and what should we look forward to this morning as they open?
So markets wrapped up last week on a positive note after Fed Chair Jerome Powell signaled decreases to interest rates last Friday, but Powell did not provide specific information on how big any of the cuts to borrowing costs would be. Traders, however, are penciling in a cut next month. With that, we saw U.S. markets in the green, with the Nasdaq leading the gains, closing up 1.5% higher. In Asia, those stocks starting on the back foot today, pretty mixed. Investors on that end eyeing another round of economic data from China. Here at home, it was green across the board on Friday. The all share closing 0.87% higher. That upbeat momentum filtering through to the rand. The rand trading at 17.71 to the greenback. This from 17.90 earlier on Friday morning.
Yep. Darling, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. We'll be back with you in the next hour for more in the business update. On the other side of this, we speak to the Democratic Alliance. They are concerned about the NHI and what Minister Motsoaledi had said over the weekend.
There's sponsoring a news feature. Then there's helping your clients make the news. Search Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking to see how far they can take your business. When you choose Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking, you get access to our business solar loans. Accessing our business solar loans means you get connected to the right supplier for your business and the most feasible tailor-made financing solution. And that financing solution means 8,760 hours of uninterrupted power for your business, sourced directly from the African sun. You see, there's going green. Then there's going green with us. Search Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
It is 27 minutes to the top of the hour. You're listening to this Monday edition of the SAfm Breakfast. Lots coming up on the show for you this morning. Give us a call, taking your reactions on 0614 104 107. You can also tweet us your views and reactions to this on 086 000 2032. We now speak to the Democratic Alliance, their spokesperson on health issues. They're concerned over Minister Motsoaledi's comments around the NHI, saying that the private healthcare providers will not be able to cover the same things that the NHI is covering. Now, the DA then said, for them it was a red line in the negotiations on the government of national unity, and that President Ramaphosa had promised them that they will be engaging on it further. What exactly are they going to be asking from President Ramaphosa? Joining me now is Michelle Clark, who's the DA health spokesperson. Michelle, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. What exactly are you hoping the president to say or do?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show, and good morning to your listeners. So when the negotiations around the GNU took place, obviously NHI was one of the issues the DA raises, the red line, and we were promised during those negotiations that the President would set a commission and have representation of all political parties that are within the GNU to discuss the issues around the bill that we were unhappy about, because the DA will not accept the NHI bill in its current form. And that was agreed upon. So I'm very taken aback that Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has gone ahead and said that the NHI will be implemented in its current form, because that was not part of the agreement when the negotiations took place.
Yeah, maybe just for chronological context here, by the time negotiations on the government of national unity and the coalition started, the NHI had already been signed into law. So we're not talking about a bill anymore. We're talking about law. The duty of the minister is to implement the law.
Correct, but also there was many aspects raised around the public participation of the bill once the bill was signed, which many of these issues must be taken into consideration. And big business that is involved, Business for South Africa, etc., had made huge contributions towards the public participation, had sent a massive document in to government, and that was not even looked at or considered. So there were really a lot of grey areas around the public participation of the bill that had to be recognised and that had to be looked into.
Sure.
And the President himself said that he would definitely go into discussions with business and the private medical sector around these issues. He even mentioned that in his SONA speech, that there would be a broader consultation. So, this hasn't happened as yet. So
Michelle, sorry to interject there, but some of the difficulty you face now is that we're talking here about a piece of law. We're not talking about a bill, right? The president doesn't have the power to retract a law. Parliament would have to do that. So this would have to go to Parliament as a forum, and the president doesn't have veto power over Parliament. He signed it into law. The only recourse you have now is either to win the debate in Parliament and have the law recalled through a parliamentary vote, or to go to court. A conversation with the president would be futile, it seems.
Well, that's what we've asked. We've sent a letter to the president, and we've asked him to bring the bill back to Parliament for a broader discussion. And of course,
but Michelle, it's no longer a bill; it's a law.
Okay, we've asked the President to bring the law back to Parliament because Parliament can make certain adjustments in terms of that law, and we have requested that to be done. And if that is futile, we will not hesitate to take this law on in the Constitutional Court.
Yeah. The DA says that this was a red line for them. Should the ANC and President Ramaphosa be unwavering about their position on NHI, does that create grounds for the Democratic Alliance to withdraw from the national government coalition?
Well, I'm sure our executive leadership will make that decision. That is above my decision because it is the executive leadership of the party to make that decision. But that was most definitely what was put on the table, that there would be further discussions around the NHI and that a commission would be established for all political parties to participate and a forum and a broader discussion around the law with big business and the medical fraternity within South Africa, the private medical sector. And the President himself said that in his SONA debate.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Michelle, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Michelle Clark is the DA's spokesperson on health.
British supergroup Smokey is touring South Africa in September. Party of the Year with Mexican Girl, Needles and Pins, and of course, living next door to Alice. Smokey in South Africa, Cape Town 18 September, Pretoria 20 September, Port Elizabeth 21 September, and Carnival City on 22 September. Bookings at ltickets.coza, 011-815-3000 or smoky.coza.
Think bigger than just a banking partner. Think a team of specialized experts supporting you to make better financial decisions to enable your growth aspirations. Think a strategic partnership, providing indispensable advice to help you make the right moves. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Are you shopping around for the best car insurance deal on the market? 46-year-old Zanele got a great deal on her car insurance when she called Outsurance. She now pays only 1,313 Rand to insure her white 2023 Audi Q2 1.4T FSIS line Stronic. Get an Outsurance quote and see if you could save. SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a busy back to work Monday for motorists coming in from the south side of Joburg. The N3 North's a heavy queue from Leondale Road to Sprayview all the way through to Heidelberg Road. There's a lot of congestion on the Leondale Road with motorists either trying to get in or out of the N3 North. So off ramp at Barry Marrera, if you're back a bit further and avoid all of that, run up the R103. You can come back onto the N3 at that Heidelberg on-ramp. There's also a big delay in from the Val area this morning. A crash on the R59 North just before you get to Clip River Drive. And the Mike 1 from Boyson through Empire Road and up into Parktown looking fairly heavy as well. R21 towards the airport, just the one queue at this stage in towards the long-term roadworks around the Clayville area. Just an update from the Swinburne area in the Free State. Major truck fire overnight last night. Closed the road for a while. Authorities have managed to open the northbound side with a contraflow, so it means both Durban-bound and Joburg-bound are sharing that side. So it's one lane both ways, if you like, on the northbound. But I've just got word through from the N3 toll concession that operate that road that the N3 South will stay closed for some time due to extensive road surface damage. So it is going to be a bit of a delay there. Keep in mind as well, there are roadworks back on Van Rynen's Pass between Pyramid Hotel and Van Rynen's Village. So single lane sections have you queuing there. And then as you get through that going further north, then you'll be into that backlog between the village and the Swinburne area. Cape Town this morning, some rain across the region, so drive carefully on wet and slippery roads. The high winds bringing that rain in have closed Chapman's Peak Drive again for safety precautions. So Okap will be the alternative on and off the South Peninsula. And a lot of traffic out of Mitchell's Plain this morning. Most routes, interestingly, are just all on a slow go. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Need a loan? Pay for what you need when you need it with a personal loan from Nedbank. And if you open a My Goals Plus or My Goals Premium account, you can enjoy 200 Rand cashback every month for the duration of your loan. That's 200 Rand every month to buy extra groceries or save for a rainy day. Visit nedbank.co.za and join the bank that's best for your loans. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Donga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
You are listening to SAfm Breakfast.
Now, water tanker mafia, that's what they are being dubbed as. They've been extorting money out of municipalities for a long time. It turns out that many of them quite deliberately damage water infrastructure so that their business pipeline can continue. The Department of Water and Sanitation, they've taken note of this. Sean Phillips, the Director General for the Department of Water and Sanitation, joins us. Municipalities are crying and something needs to be done. What is the immediate intervention that can be done for water tanker businesses to be thwarted so that people can have water running through their taps?
Good morning, Oliver, and good morning to your listeners. I think the first point to make is that sometimes it is necessary to use water tankers, but our policy is that water tankers should only be used in emergency situations where water can't be provided through the normal pipe distribution piping system, or where there's no other alternative, such as in Hammanskraal at the moment, because the water treatment works isn't able to provide safe water yet. So we can't rule out the use of water tankers altogether. What we are finding across the country in many municipalities is that there's a lot of vandalism and theft of municipal infrastructure, particularly metal parts. And sometimes those metal parts are sold for scrap metal, but sometimes the vandalism and theft might be deliberate in order to disrupt the water supply system so that water tanking companies can be appointed. It's difficult for us to know when the vandalism and theft is in order for people to sell the metal parts to make money, or when it's for water tanking companies to get more contracts. And in order to address that, we want to appeal to the public to inform us if they have any knowledge of any people vandalizing or stealing parts of water infrastructure. It only requires a small piece of water infrastructure to be stolen, like a piece of metal, a piece of copper cable in a pumping station, for our whole distribution system to go down. So many people in the community suffer long water supply disruptions if just a small piece of infrastructure is stolen. So we'd really like to appeal to communities to report to us. We have a toll-free number which I can give you, which people can report any knowledge that they have of such occurrences.
Yeah. Is there a more proactive intervention that the state can lead to be able to do this? For instance, giving you the Eskom example, for instance, the state did two things at the height of Eskom's load shedding in 2022. One of the things it did was to ban the export of non-ferrous metals. That means that scrap yards no longer had an incentive to take scrap metal from those selling it to them, which typically would come from damaging electricity infrastructure. And the second thing they did was to deploy the military to defend key electricity infrastructure such as plants, where we saw an immediate reduction in the deliberate sabotage and the deliberate vandalism of electricity infrastructure. Could the same not be said about key water infrastructure for municipalities?
Well, the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition has put in place measures to restrict the exporting of scrap metal to address that, and that would apply whether it's electricity metal parts or water metal parts. So those measures that were put in place to address the Eskom theft will equally benefit us in terms of the water theft. Those military personnel were deployed to major Eskom power stations. Water infrastructure is much more localized and much more dispersed. There are some large water treatment works and wastewater treatment works, but a lot of the other infrastructure is dispersed in different pumping stations around a municipality, so it would be much more difficult to deploy the military to protect it all over the country. It would be hugely expensive. But having said that, a lot of municipalities don't provide enough security at their water infrastructure. Sometimes you can go to a municipal water treatment works or wastewater treatment works and you'll see that there isn't even a fence around that infrastructure. So we strongly encourage municipalities and municipal councils to vote sufficient funds to adequately secure their water infrastructure. That's a key part of our fight against this vandalism and theft.
Yeah, crime intelligence also has a role to play and to be able to crack through some of these, what seems like syndicates that are deliberately damaging and vandalizing water infrastructure. What is being done or what can be done on the policing front?
I can't speak on behalf of the police, but I do know that we've been engaging with them and with the state security agencies, and I do know that they've prioritized it and that they are deploying crime intelligence and other state security resources to find out exactly who's behind this and the degree to which water tanking companies are responsible for this damage to the infrastructure.
Could there be a need for an overhaul of the procurement processes when it comes to water tanking companies to make sure that these are companies that, one, have integrity, that don't have nefarious ties to certain municipal officers? Because listening to the mayor of Nakamudiri municipality over the weekend saying that there's someone on the inside helping them do this, right? And so an audit of these companies can go a long way in determining whether or not they are credible.
Yes, I think you're correct. I think municipalities need to tighten up their procurement processes for water tanking companies and do exactly the kind of measures that you're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Really do appreciate it. That is the Director General for the Department of Water and Sanitation, Sean Phillips. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
Top stories at 7. Court to hear Cholote's urgent application and farms destroyed by veld fires in the Eastern Cape. For SAfm News, I am Ondelambana and a very good morning. The Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to hear the urgent application of the former Premier Ace Magashula's personal assistant to have her arrest declared unlawful. 37-year-old Muradi Cholota's legal team has argued that the 255 million rand asbestos corruption and fraud charges against her emerged from her refusal to comply with the state's demand for specific testimony. Cholota is out on bail of 2,500 rand. She was extradited from the U.S. earlier this month. Legal analyst Thabo Mulete says the application has a prospect of success.
But our view in this case is that Muradi Cholota might succeed in her application, because our view is that the case of the state against Muradi Cholota is not that strong, and second to that, for the fact that she has been given bail of 2,500, it's also, in my view, indicative of the fact that the state does not have a good case against her. And thirdly, the fact that the state initially started off by saying, we want you to be our state witness, and she refused, and the state suddenly they change and say, no, now that you're refusing to be the state witness, we are now charging you with.
The Hawks National Head Lieutenant General Godfrey Libeya says the responsibility of recovering stolen state funds lies with both his Crime Investigation Unit and the National Prosecuting Authority. He says the Hawks have made a significant progress in arresting high-profile individuals suspected of serious crimes, including corruption, fraud and money laundering. Most of the arrests have been made in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Libeya addressed the media in Pretoria yesterday.
We haven't dealt with the recovery. The amount that we talk about when it comes to the recovery is in the field of priority crime specialized investigation. That is, we work closely with the asset forfeiture unit of the NPA. So it's not necessarily the responsibility of the Hawks on its own to recover, because that is a civil part. So we deal with a criminal part.
Some informal vendors in Wallisodden in Kraaifontein outside Cape Town say their businesses are struggling because they are forced to pay a protection fee. Others are abandoning their stalls fearing for their lives. In a recent incident, one of the vendors was shot for allegedly failing to pay a protection fee. The vendors allege that multiple gangs are extorting money from them. 25-year-old Mkhululi Ndlovu is one of the affected vendors.
They come and collect money for protection. They said it's protection fee. Now I must budget 1 July, 1 September. They come and collect 300 rand for protection fee. It's affecting me a lot. And there's people who are working there. You see this guy over here? He's working there by Kisanya. I must pay him 1,000.
Farmers in the small town of Cathcart in the Eastern Cape are counting their losses as felt fires rage in the province. The South Weather Services has predicted heavy winds for the area, causing concerns among farmers. The cause of the fires remains unknown. The authorities are on high alert. One of the affected farmers, Chris Purden, has described the situation as devastating.
We've probably got about 90% loss of felt and major damage to infrastructure, fences, poles, pipelines, that sort of thing. It's just a massive destructive force that came through.
In news further afield, the U.S. says it's working hard to avoid a further escalation in hostilities between Israel and the Lebanese-based militant group Hezbollah. Yesterday saw the biggest clashes in 10 months of border fighting. Hundreds of rockets and drones were fired into Israel, and there were heavy airstrikes on southern Lebanon. The Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed a cabinet meeting in Tel Aviv about the fighting.
We're hitting Hezbollah where they don't expect it. 3 weeks ago, we eliminated their chief of staff, and today we foiled their offensive plan. Nasrallah in Beirut and Khamenei in Tehran should know that this is another step on the way to changing the situation in the north and returning our citizens safely to their homes. And I repeat, this is not the end of the story.
Recapping the top story, the Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to hear the urgent application of the former Premier Ace Magashula's personal assistant to have her arrest declared unlawful. I am Ondelambana for SAfm News. Headlines at 7:30.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS call to 43187. Your own panel beater is like your favorite holiday destination. Not everyone's top 10, but perfect for you. Outsurance gets it. That's why, with Outsurance Essential, your claim is paid out in cash to use your own panel beater. Also, get up to 1 million rand liability cover and other great benefits at a low cost. Outsurance Essential is priced for cars older than 5 years, valued under 125,000 rand and not financed. SMS car to 43187 or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We're still very heavy into Joburg this morning, coming in from the Vaal, a big crash scene just before the Klip River Drive exit, backlogging traffic heavily arriving through that Rand-Vaal area. Protesting in the Eastern Cape, just south of Dutwa on the N2, truckers and motorists being caught in quite a heavy queue. That's as you arrive into Dutwa from Butterworth. It's that section of roadway this morning. The N3 between Funrin Village and Swinburne queuing heavily, just a single lane both ways, passing a truck fire incident on the southbound side. That fire did some extensive damage to the roadway, so the N3 is likely to be closed for some time. The southbound side at least likely to be closed for some time for repairs. The N2 coming into Rebecca is now queuing. There's a queue into where we've seen the flooding recently, so that's heavy city bound from John Talent Road. You're going to pick up a big queue. There may be some knock-on effect from that flooding. And Cape Town today, rain about the region, so do take it easy. Everything's on a bit of a slow go, including the N1 from Belleville all the way through to about Woodstock this morning, and Chapman's Peak Drive, because of weather conditions, is closed. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SAfm sports headlines. It's plenty to look forward to with the Springboks. They are in a good space, gearing up for the All Blacks at Ellis Park. And in cricket, Reza Hendricks' fiery 44, not enough as the West Indies seal the T20 series. Details around 7:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with #SAfm Breakfast.
An abandoned building in the city of Joburg caught fire this past Sunday in Jeppestown. 4 people have died. 3 are admitted into hospital. We speak to the MMC of Human Settlements in the city in a very short while. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be talking to the Amalgamated Lawyers Association. They're taking President Cyril Ramaphosa to court after his appointment of a new judge president in the Limpopo division of the High Court. We're going to be speaking to them about that court action. And then a little bit later on in the program, we're going to be speaking to Minister Aaron Motsoaledi on fraudulent medical legal claims. They say that they've been able to save up to 3 billion rand after investigating and putting an end to fraudulent medical legal claims. Now, the lawyers, the Legal Practice Council, put out a statement over the weekend calling for victims of a very specific Eastern Cape lawyer that had been defrauding claimants in the Eastern Cape province to come forward should they have ever used the lawyer and not received their payout of medical claims. We're going to be speaking to the minister about that a little bit later on in the program. Lots more coming up. You can be a part of all of it. Tweet me at Oliver_speaking on Twitter, Oliver Dixon on Facebook. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. I'm taking your voice note reactions. Keep those short on our WhatsApp line on 0614 104 107, 9 minutes after 7.
The Foxes are highly motivated to wrap up the month of August with maximum points.
Jamie Vardy! Again for Leicester City! Ageless, priceless and timeless!
Yet the Villains are fully focused on travelling back home with vital 3 points.
Larkin towards Randy for John Duran! Oh, it's John Duran! Rolls it into the net, puts Aston Villa 1 goal
This is the Premier League. Do not miss out on the glittering action between Leicester City FC and Aston Villa FC on Saturday 31 August at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Feel like you're paying too much for car insurance? Be like 43-year-old Anissa, who pays only 1,289 Rand per month to insure her silver 2019 Toyota Hilux Raider e-cab with Outsurance. Get a quote from Outsurance today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 now. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAfm Breakfast, helping you navigate your day.
An abandoned building caught fire in the city of Joburg over the weekend on Sunday in Jeppestown after reported illegal connections had caused the fire in the building. 4 people have died, 3 have gone to hospital. We speak to the MMC of Human Settlements in the city of Joburg. That is Mlungisi Mabaso. MMC, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Perhaps to start the conversation here, the city of Joburg had done an audit of all the buildings in the city, including abandoned and hijacked buildings, 227 buildings, whilst this building identified previously as an at-risk building.
No, thank you very much. Greetings to yourself and the listeners. There's been quite a number of reports that the city has done in trying to address and mitigate all these challenges within the inner city. I might not be privy to that information on whether that building was one of the buildings identified, but there are quite a number of buildings that were identified, and 82 of those buildings were released for private development, and I think JPC is in the process of finalizing its own procurement processes so that those buildings are actually handed over to those private developers for them to convert them into affordable rentals and also to run businesses within those properties.
Now, it's almost a year after the Marshalltown fire had taken place, killing a big score of people over there. Should the city have not been proactive in identifying at-risk buildings, whether they belong to the city or abandoned buildings that belong to private owners or are hijacked buildings, at-risk buildings for fires like these to take place that could potentially once again kill people? Because it's the same script, it's just a different building.
Yesterday, in fact, the Office of the Executive Mayor, through the city manager, did inform us that since last year, there's quite a lot that they've done in terms of trying to put in measures in dealing with these incidents that are becoming an annual occurrence in the inner city.
Okay, what has been put in place? What is that a lot that you're speaking about?
They said they are going to share that report with us in the next 2 weeks. Remember, it's the office of the city manager that deals with this, because it can't be one department responsible, for these issues within the inner city. It requires a quite a number of institutions, both in the private, in the public sector. So they said to us, then in the next 2 weeks they are going to share the report, and that the report will then be communicated with the residents of Johannesburg. And we hope and believe that that particular approach which they are going to present to us, will be able to provide solutions on how we are going to deal with issues in the inner city. Because we need to be proactive, like we have alluded. We need to be proactive in our approach, so that we are even be able to protect the lives of the residents that are residing within the inner city.
Have you made available temporary relocation accommodation for those affected by the fire in this very specific building in Jeppestown?
Yes, yesterday we were able to provide an alternative accommodation, but as of today, we will be working on a permanent solution, because what we have done in the inner city, when we encounter these challenges, we provide an interim, accommodation while working on a permanent solution, so that at least our residents are moved to a safer space. So we have done that, but today we will be commencing with our work, working towards providing a permanent solution for them.
Yeah, MMC Mabaso, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. That's the MMC of Housing or Human Settlements in the city of Johannesburg.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAfm. Leading the conversation.
City Power in the city of Johannesburg, they're embarking on a new campaign to recoup unpaid bills, and they hope that you'll, as a resident of the city of Johannesburg, will be cooperative in paying your bill. What exactly will be done in this? The Senior Manager for Revenue Enforcement at City Power, Obani Mzizi, joins us for this. Obani, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Talk to us about what exactly City Power is planning on doing.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. It's a continuation of what we periodically do every quarter, where we go out on a drive to send out a message that we are still in need of the revenue or the payments that have not been made by customers. So in this particular quarter, instead of doing 8 drives like we normally do, we're going to do 16 drives, meaning we'll visit one of each of our service delivery centers twice in the quarter. And in so doing, we are just going out to say, listen, guys, we need our money, of course. I mean, this is part of our normal revenue management value chain, in that at the end of the value chain, if customers have not paid, we'll disconnect. But this one is not necessarily the full function of disconnection, but merely to communicate and meet our customers and send out a message through mediums like yourself so that customers know that we need our payments.
How much, what is on your balance sheet, what is the bill of uncollected fees at the moment?
Well, at the moment, Oliver, we are sitting at around 9 billion rands, bordering 10 billion rands just for electricity alone.
And how much of that is legacy debt?
Well, legacy is relative because some would say legacy is beyond 3 years, some will say legacy is 1 year and so forth. So this is strewn across up to around 5 years or so.
Yeah. Of that 9 billion, how much do you think that you'll be able to collect with this drive?
Well, the anticipation is that we collect all of it, but I know that's not possible, because we wouldn't be at this point if that was possible. So I think reasonable if we can get to a point of collecting just over half of that amount, and maybe just finding some form of agreement with the customer, and not only through the drive, as I say, just throughout the normal credit management process, which is at the last part of our revenue management value chain. Because I mean, throughout COVID, that's when our debt book grew quite a lot, and that's why I mentioned 5 years, because it goes back to around 2020.
Right.
That's when we saw a surge, in our debt book, because we relaxed our credit management process, understanding the plight of our customers, given that some had lost jobs, businesses were slow, etc., etc. But the comeback has been very difficult.
Yeah, and very importantly here, what is the overall collection rate of City Power from its customers?
Well, the collection rate seems to improve month on month, and should I say year on year. At this point, I mean, when we closed off the previous year, we closed off at 99%. And of course, I mean, that 1% keeps on adding to historical debt, but 99% is better than where we come from, because we come from periods where we were at around 80-85%, and that is what contributed to the growth.
And amongst your delinquent customers, is it largely businesses or is it largely households?
It's throughout all our customer categories, Oliver. I think, I mean, we have our large power users are only around 20% of our customers, but surprisingly, we see that domestic or residential customers are contributing a very, very big portion of this, and it's really concerning, because what they owe is very little individually, but collectively it is alarming.
A lot of this debt, you say, does come from as far back as 2020 during the COVID pandemic. A lot of households went into economic strife as a result of COVID-19. Many have not bounced back, while many may have necessarily bounced back. What is to be done for households that have since become indigent?
Well, if we have become indigent, we do have a social development department or section within the city of Johannesburg that is able to engage with customers and say, look, come through if you're facing financial distress, and let's see where we can meet you. I mean, given, of course, you producing all the evidences to that effect, which we have just mentioned. And those who have recovered but still have a huge debt, we're also amenable to negotiate with them if they provide all the evidences of where they were and where they are right now, and we are able to make accommodative payment arrangements. Of course, there are those who take chances, and those we follow through with our legal processes, but in the main, we are amenable to negotiate, because at the end of the day, it's not intended to be a draconian measure, but more so a measure where we're able to collect and everyone finds each other, and we're able to function well as a city.
Yeah, Oban Mzizi, thank you so much for your time this morning. That's the Senior Manager for Revenue Enforcement at City Power. I'm taking your reactions to that, 0614-104-107. Send us a WhatsApp voice note on our WhatsApp line. 20 minutes after 7.
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN OTP feature and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Dzonga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on #SAfm Breakfast.
President Cyril Ramaphosa had appointed a new judge president in the Limpopo division of the High Court. Now, the Amalgamated Lawyers Association are not happy with the appointment and are taking the president to court after he had hired Judge George Patudi as the judge president of the Limpopo High Court. Why exactly is Judge George Patudi not fit for this post? I speak to Advocate Chakudi, my apologies, Advocate Tsunzuka of the Amalgamated Lawyers Association. Advocate, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Why is Judge Patudi not the right guy for the job?
Good morning, Oliver, and to your listeners. It's Advocate Tsunzuka Kevin Malulek. Look, Oliver, this is simple. He is not fit for the position of Judge President in the Limpopo Division of the Higher Court, given the various allegations, very serious allegations, damning allegations that are leveled against him. Amongst others, you have your sexual harassment allegations leveled against this particular judge president. There's also your allegations of corruption leveled against him. There's also your issue of dishonesty during his tenure as a lecturer at the University of the then University of Teflop, now University of Limpopo. There's also the issue of your corruption that I've just mentioned, amongst others. Those are the issues that we speak to in our papers that were filed with the Gauteng Local Division of the High Court.
From the multiplicity of charges and allegations that you mention right now, has Judge George been found guilty on any of them?
Well, in respect of the one at Teflop, he was found guilty. He was dismissed. Allegedly, at a later stage, that particular decision of dismissal was overturned to a resignation. But our issue has always been the issue of an onerous duty that he had to make a full and frank disclosure of those issues.
Yeah. The president doesn't unilaterally appoint judge presidents. He does so at the recommendation of Judicial Services Commission. Is the Judicial Services Commission, through its conduct tribunal, not perhaps the right forum to register your discontent with?
We have actually lodged a complaint, Oliver, with the Judicial Conduct Committee. You would understand these processes can be pursued separate and independent of each other. Insofar as lodging a complaint is concerned, we did lodge a complaint. Amongst others, I'll speak to the issue of your attempt by this Judge MG Patudi to corrupt me to obliterate Judge President Siminya, Deputy Judge President Siminya MV, from being elevated to the position of Deputy Judge President in the Limpopo Division of the High Court.
Yeah.
We have lodged a complaint in terms of that particular allegations, and also insofar as the allegations of dishonesty in respect of the TEFLUOP misconduct hearing that was held against him. We also lodged a complaint with the Judicial Conduct Committee. And also these issues should not be conflated. Remember, we are entitled to approach court in terms of Section 34 in order to have issues which we believe should be resolved by application of the law. That's what we did, to say the President, under the prevailing circumstances, took irrelevant considerations or factors in appointing Judge President Padudi for the position of Judge President in the Limpopo Division of the High Court.
If the President were to rescind the appointment of Judge Patudi as the Judge President, would the President not be acting ultra vires? That is to say, very specifically, because the President does not have discretionary power on the appointment of a Judge President. The President appoints that which the Judicial Services Commission recommends to the President to appoint. Are you then also not then going to be asking the court to compel the President to exercise a power that he does not have?
No, but this whole thing, Oliver, should be seen against the backdrop that, number one, there was an undertaking by the President of the Republic of South Africa not to appoint MG Patuti J as the Judge President of the Limpopo Division of the High Court. And we sanctioned a particular course of action and inaction on the basis of that undertaking. A promise is a promise, and he must be held to account in terms of that promise. He undertook not to appoint, and that particular undertaking should be seen also against the backdrop and the fact that it has an effect of an order, because we issued an interdict and a review application, and before our interdict could be heard, we then had the President undertaking to say, I'm not going to appoint Judge Patudi for the position of Judge President in the Limpopo Division of the High Court. And based on that undertaking, we then had to pursue the review application on the understanding that there is that undertaking he's not going to appoint, but he reneged from that particular undertaking, then unlawfully appoint MG.
Just give me a sense of timelines there. At what point did you seek an interdict application? At what point did the President make the proclamation that he would not appoint Judge Patudi? And at what point did the President renege on that undertaking?
We issued our interdict application in October 2022, immediately after the JSA had recommended Judge Patudi for the position of Judge President in the Limpopo Division of the High Court. And immediately after we issued those papers, we had an undertaking from the President prior to the appointment of Judge President for that position. Then that matter served before the Gauteng Local Division of the High Court in Johannesburg. It was dismissed on a technical point of law. We then approached the SCA. The SCA gave us a lifeline, or it agreed with us that we do have a case insofar as appealing that particular dismissal is concerned on a technical point of law. And as things currently stand, that matter is pending before the Gauteng Local Division of the High Court. So in particular, insofar as the issuing of papers, we issued these papers timeously before the President could appoint, to say, do not appoint. Then he undertook not to appoint. Then at a later stage, with these impending processes, he then decided to unlawfully appoint MG Patudi for that position.
Okay. Did the President at all provide an answer as to why he, as you claim, reneged on his earlier undertaking to not appoint Judge Patudi?
None whatsoever. Safe to say, he then indicated or intimated rather that he has a prerogative to appoint in terms of the relevant provisions in the Constitution. But what you should remember here, Oliver, it's a simple fact to say that once there's an application for leave to appeal, the provisions of Section 18, subsection 1 of the Superior Court Act 10 of 2013 are clear. It suspends the operation, the execution of the order, pending the outcome of those processes. So the President was not entitled to benefit, or to rather make MG Patudi J to be a beneficiary of his wrongdoing under the prevailing circumstances, he should have awaited for the process to unfold, as it did, to say that until we have a pronouncement in the review application, which is in the name, he should not be appointed. I'll just give you a hint in terms of what the issues entails in the review application.
We unfortunately very thin on time, so we can't go into the minutiae therein. But maybe a last question here. Is this an urgent application?
No, it's not an urgent application. It's a normal application which has been issued dating back to October 2022.
Yeah. Advocate Suntuka Kevin Maluleka, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to have to leave it there. Really appreciate it. It is 7:30. Let's take your latest headlines.
Thank you, Oliver. News headlines at 7:30 on radio on SAfm. I'm Wanda Lamban and a very good morning. Police in Cape Town have confiscated various brands of counterfeit goods worth 55 million rand in the Bellville CBD. The Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to hear the urgent application of the former Premier Ace Magashula's personal assistant to have her arrest declared unlawful. And the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape says additional teams will arrive from the Western Cape today to assist with addressing power outage problems. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Update on the R59 North coming in from the Vaal. It's a fatal crash. It is going to be with us for a while, unfortunately. Just around Clipper River Drive before you get to the Clipper River Drive exit. So from Randvaal on your way in, it's very heavy this morning. The N3 stays really jam-packed as well, passing straight to you up towards the Heidelberg Road exit. You might want to off-ramp at Barry Moreira if you're coming from the Phosphorus Heidelberg side. Take the Heidelberg Road and on-ramp back onto the N3 at the N3 ramp and avoid the main carriageway. Gillooly's fairly heavy this morning. N3 north through it from Germiston. N12 and R24 routes in from the east quite heavy. A lot of pressure on the N1 as well from 14th Avenue all the way round to Rivonia Road. Coming out of Pretoria, big delays. Crash on the M1 south of the R21. That's a heavy backlog all the way through to Linwood Road. Durban's M4 Southern Freeway. The delays have arrived earlier this morning. No roadworks at Congela and Billow, but still dealing with that China Mall demolition. So closure of Brooks. It's very heavy this morning from sort of Clarewood area. N2 both ways. Dumgeta Road Spaghetti Junction jam-packed as well. Cape Town in the rain. Everything on a bit of a slow go. Nothing that really stands out apart from just everything is super busy. So give yourself extra time to get through. There's a lot of traffic around today, particularly into Stellenbosch, interestingly. Long queues there coming in, particularly from the R44 route from Somerset West. Protesting just south of Dutwa on the N2. That's Butterworth through the Dutwa section, blocked by burning tyres. And the N2 into Quebecer is busy this morning through that flooding section, queuing from Blue Water Bay into the city centre area. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Sai Khan.
A very good morning. Let's kick things off with the Springboks. They're preparing for a crucial showdown against the All Blacks at Ellis Park this Saturday, with the world champions leading the rugby championship after 2 wins in Australia. Assistant coach Mzwandile Stick says the team is in a great space, full of energy and confidence. Now, rumours suggest that rookie Gerard Steenkamp might get the nod at loose head prop, while several World Cup winners are back in the mix, with New Zealand's strong record in Joburg, including wins in 2022 and 2015. The Boks are determined to win at all costs and keep their title hopes alive. On to cricket now. The Proteas crumbled from a strong position to lose by 30 runs to the West Indies in their second T20 international, conceding the series 2-0. Chasing 180, the Proteas reached 129 for 3 but lost their last 7 wickets for just 20 runs. Reza Hendricks gave a solid start with 44 of 18 balls, but Romario Shepherd's 3 for 15 turned the game on its head, with Shamar Joseph also taking 3 for 31. His Proteas batter Reza Hendricks.
Yeah, it's obviously disappointing losing today. We came out thinking we'd obviously put on a good show to try and level the series, but I thought we did well. We bowled particularly well, and I thought the score they got was a fast score, and we set it up nicely. Unfortunately, we lost our way the middle towards the back end. Quite disappointing, obviously, not to get over the line and win and level the series today.
Soccer news. Namibian international Aprocius Petrus believes compatriots Peter Shalulile, Dion Hotto and Rian Hanamab have laid a solid foundation to pick up on. The defensive midfielder signed for Cape Town City late last season, making 9 league appearances to help the club finish in the top 8. Petrus attributed the influx of Namibian players to the PSL to his native country's talent pool.
For us, I think we get the opportunity to play here in South Africa because it's close and let me say the players that are coming from Namibia, like the Shallow Lilas and the Hotos, they've been here first, so I think the scouts, the first thing they do is go to Namibia and look for talent because there's a lot of talent there.
Soccer news elsewhere. Serge Gnabry scored a late winner for Bayern Munich as manager Vincent Kompany's first Bundesliga game in charge, ending a hard-fought 3-2 victory against Wolfsburg. Golf, Keegan Bradley rode patriotic cheers to victory at the BMW Championships. He shot an even par 72 in the final round for 12 under par 276 at Castle Pines Golf Club. And finally, cycling, Adam Yates secured a sensational Stage 9 victory in the Vuelta, and that's to revive his general classification hopes. Ecuadorian Richard Carapaz, well, he was second behind Yates. Ben O'Connor, he was third in the stage. O'Connor leads by 3 minutes 53 seconds in the general classification. 3-time Vuelta champion Primož Roglic is second overall, and Carapaz moved into third place, more than 4 minutes off the overall lead. But here's the Stage 9 winner, Adam Yates.
I never suffered like this before. It's so hot out there. I mean, from the last climb I was cramping full, and I didn't know if I could go. You know, I've had a lot of bad luck over the years in Grand Tours, and I really didn't know if I could make it, but I'm just so happy I could finally win another Grand Tour stage.
More sport here on SAfm Breakfast, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Zai, you're a parent. Do you ever share your children on social media?
I did. A lot.
Did you stop doing that?
I stopped doing that.
When? Why did you stop doing that?
I realized you have to protect your most precious asset. And what's that? My kids.
How old are your kids?
Well, they're big now. They're in their teens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. I've never shared my kids on social media.
Oh, that's a good
Ever.
call.
Well, I mean, because of the work I do, also don't share my family just in general on social media. Like, it's seldom. And if I do, it will be like on my WhatsApp for a select few people who are like friends and family that will see those posts. But never publicly will I share my family like that. Oversharing of family and children seems to be causing a lot of dangers. Yeah.
To both parents and child, because you never know what's out there.
Especially
and who's
on
watching.
the first day of school, right?
What?
Yes. Where parents would share even the kid in school uniform. Now everyone knows where your child's going to school.
Not even that. Going to, this is the school and this is the time. Oh, no, guys. Oversharing, no.
Absolutely dangerous. We're going to be talking about that just after 8 o'clock. Do join us for that conversation. We're going to be talking about the dangers of oversharing your children. I want to know from you, do you share your children's pictures on social media? Especially when it's like birthday celebrations, or perhaps it's a milestone they've reached. Perhaps they're starting a new school. If you do share them, do you ever worry about the dangers? And have you stopped sharing them or don't? Tell us why. I'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. Send me a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107. 22 minutes before 8.
The Business Update on SAfm.
Ndaleng is back with the Business Update. This hour we start with Goldfields. They've missed out on the gold price boom, Ndaleng.
That's right. So the miner recorded a 30% decline in profits. This was mainly due to operational challenges that weighed on output at its mines. So Goldfields' only South African asset, South Deep, had water leaking through the full material, which blocked access to some parts of its mines. This then made mining and planning more complicated there, which slowed down production and delayed access to its best ore. The mine produced 3,633 kgs of gold in the reporting period, compared to 4,743 kgs in the first 6 months of last year. Its international operations also didn't fare well, with lower output being recorded across the board: Australia, Ghana, and South America. In Chile, in particular, production at its Salares Norte mine still delayed. It's also said that bad weather conditions in that region weighed. Now, due to the downbeat performance, Goldfields expects to produce less gold this year, between 2 million and 2.15 million ounces, down from its earlier forecast of 2.3 million ounces. Now, if this happens, it will be the company's lowest production level since 2013.
Yeah, and Grindrod, they're looking to revive their rail business. Earlier on, they went into an interesting merger, and just last year, I think I was attending a conference called Africa Rail, which happens annually, and the then Deputy President Paul Mashatile spoke at the conference, and this was around the Africa Rail environment, and Grindrod was very upbeat. They were in the room. They were very upbeat about it. What are they telling us this time?
Definitely. Now, this plan comes after it terminated its rail operations in Sierra Leone, and this will result in 13 locomotives returning to South Africa before the end of the year. Now, the logistics company that owns ports, terminals, and tankers has set aside 2 billion rand in capex to beef up the rail business and also upgrade terminals in Maputo. Now, rail transportation has become a crucial part of the company's logistics operations due to its efficiency and affordability, especially for hauling dry goods and containers. Now, the company's strategy, which focuses on collaborating with rail authorities and operators, is set to capitalize on growth opportunities in rail within the SADC and East Africa regions. The strategy shift comes alongside its results, where profits were flat due to a challenging economic and operational environment. This included unexpected weather conditions and a weak price performance of its portfolios of commodities handled through its port and terminals. So those factors were what weighed on its profits, but it is upbeat that the new strategy, the new shift, will beef up its balance sheet.
Yeah, let's take a look at those market indicators. How did the market close on Friday?
So kicking things off in Asia, looking at how markets have started today, stocks pretty mixed. This despite rising bets for a Fed rate cut in the next few weeks. Traders are eyeing U.S. inflation figures out on Friday and China's industrial profits print being released tomorrow. With that, the Chinese Shanghai index is down 0.3%. Japan's Nikkei also in the red, falling 1%. In Wall Street, futures are in negative territory following an upbeat close on Friday. Traders on that end are awaiting the last round of earnings reports. Nvidia out with numbers this week, so all eyes will be on that. Coming back home, sentiment has been positive, with markets and the rand making gains. The all share closed 0.87% higher, while the rand is trading stronger at 17.76 to the dollar, benefiting from that weaker greenback.
And darling, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Back with you in the next hour. Advocate Sipho Mantula standing by with the Africa Update.
Africa Update on SAfm.
We start out this morning in Tunisia, African Mantula, with the Tunisian President Said announcing yesterday a broad cabinet reshuffle.
That is quite true, Oliver, and a refreshing morning, Jumbo Africa, to the listeners. Remember, this cabinet reshuffle comes amid financial crisis and challenges of water and electricity outages in many parts of Tunisia. Now he has reshuffled the Minister of Defense and Foreign Affairs, and that will worry you. I mean, that will worry some of our listeners and even activists when you are having elections in October and you're going for a cabinet reshuffle. Even last month, he also removed the Prime Minister by bringing another Prime Minister from Social Affairs to become a Prime Minister. So what is President Kais Saied is doing now is to also attract voters towards this October 2024 presidential elections in Tunisia.
Yeah, and in the Congo, a renewed fighting broke out between the DRC's army and the M23 rebels.
And that is in the eastern part. Remember, we just had a SADC summit now that came out, and the SADC mission in the DRC is still struggling to contain all these armed rebel groups in the northern Kivu province. We have areas like Irumba, where there have been tensions between M23 rebels and the government forces. There was a ceasefire early this month on the 4th of August, but it seems that it has been broken once more, that the army and the M23 are still battling in some of these areas in the northern part of DRC. It is worrying, Oliver, when one looks at the people who are leaving their homes in the DRC, that we are looking at almost 7.2 million people who are affected by this conflict since it has broke between M23 and the government of the DRC.
Yeah. And in Malawi, the Malawian government, they've begun screening for Mpox at ports of entries.
We know very well also that the epicenter of it has been looked as the DRC and other 10 other African states. The World Health Organization have also said that the new strain of the Mpox is a public health emergency of international concern. And when you look at Malawi, there was a 31-year-old male who has been treated in hospital and a 17-year-old boy who's receiving care. So those who are traveling to Malawi, they should know that the Malawian airports are already beginning with the screening to prevent this virus of the Mpox.
And in Namibia, local and international activists calls for Global Action Day on the 26th of August. What is this related to?
This is a very important day. We will deal with it just after this on our archive. What is happening now, you have the drilling that is called the Recon Africa by the Canadians in Namibia. Now, the legal dispute is that the environmental clearance certificate, the activists are arguing that it was obtained through a flawed process, meaning there was no public participation, and it also violated their environmental and democratic rights. You look at the issue of wildlife, Oliver, the biodiversity, the groundwaters, that when you look at Okavango Delta, it's a UN World Heritage Site, but you have this drilling that has been going on, and these activists have been challenging the Minister of Environment, Shifeta, to say that look at this process, was it properly done since 2022. Now this company from Canada is busy drilling in Okavango, and this is a challenge that many African countries have been facing in terms of their biodiversity and the drilling for the oil or for the minerals.
Yeah, and in our archives today, it is on this day in 1966 when the People's Liberation Army of Namibia, which is the armed wing of SWAPO, fought in a battle against South African occupying forces.
And that was in Ungulu, Gwambashe, in the northern part of Namibia. The UN had a resolution as early as 1973 that was saying that the 26th of August is being known as the Namibia Day to commemorate the gallant struggle of the Namibian people against the then apartheid forces who occupied Namibia. There are many forces like Samuel Maharero, who was a chief, who was also acknowledged for the anti-colonial war against the Germans as well as the apartheid South Africans. So this day in Namibia, Oliver, is known as the National Heroes Day. Hence, I was linking it with that drilling operation by the Canadians in the African region of SADC. Asante sana, Oliver, as you are still in the conversation, SAfm observing the Women's Month.
Advocate Sipho Mantula, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. On the other side of this, we speak to the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi.
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN OTP feature and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
1 hour for the kids' school run, 8 hours at work, 2 hours preparing meals, and so much more. Sure. 24 hours is simply not enough to do it all. Luckily at UNISA, you don't need to find time for your studies. Anytime will do. Shape your future with the leading open distance e-learning university in Africa. Applications to study undergraduate qualifications at UNISA in 2025 are open. Visit unisa.ac.za to apply. UNISA, define tomorrow.
This Women's Month, celebrate the incredible strength, resilience, and achievements of women with our Empower Her Voice of Strength campaign. Join SAfm as we highlight inspiring stories, share valuable insights, and promote gender equality. Tune in for special segments, powerful interviews, and daily inspiration. Together, let's uplift and empower women everywhere. Be part of the movement. Hashtag Empower Her. Hashtag Voices of Strength. SAfm, leading the conversations that move us. Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAfm.
A law firm in the Eastern Cape had submitted medical legal claims to the tune of R500 million against the Department of Health in the Eastern Cape province. These were 44 separate claims against the city. The SIU found that this happened over a period of 5 years. The name of the lawyer in question is Zuko Nonguba, who is suspended as a practicing attorney by the Legal Practice Council, and they've called on those who've ever dealt with him to come forward if they ever submitted a claim through him and never received the beneficiation of that claim. Now, Zuko is one of many lawyers that defraud the state through this. Minister Aaron Mutsalet is here to talk to us about it. Minister, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Oliver. Good morning to the listeners. Unfortunately, I must warn, the line is not going to be very well. I'm in a very bad place here in Brazzaville.
No, we can hear you loud and clear, Minister. How widespread of a problem is this fraudulent medical legal claims?
Yeah, let me just correct something before we forget. We didn't make a call that people who submitted claims through Nonguba attorneys must come forward. We think all the lawyers.
No, the Legal Practice Council made that call.
Oh, through him. Okay, no.
Yes,
on our side, we are calling. Oh, okay, I see. I'm sorry about that. I didn't pick that up. My apologies. Yes, let's go to the question again.
Yeah, how widespread of a problem is this?
Well, according to the report from SIU, it's really widespread, seeing that it involves quite a large number of lawyers who unfortunately we could not name because they've not yet been charged and appeared in court. We named only Nonguba specifically because he's charged, he has appeared in court, and as you say, he has already been suspended, so the name is out in the public. But the others, we did not name them, but they are quite many. It is widespread, yes.
The number you cite in savings is 3 billion. How did you get to that number?
Well, we're talking about when the SIU was investigating, there are cases that clearly they proved that they are fraudulent, and in some of them, the lawyers conceded by withdrawing them. And when we withdraw them, we subtract the amount they were claiming against the contingent liability. Remember, we are saying so, Oliver, because when the Auditor General audit books, they calculate what is called contingent liability. That means if you submit claims of 100 million rand, they calculate that as contingent liability, that you are likely to pay that amount, even though out of that 100 million, 50 million or even 80 million may be fraudulent. But the Auditor General doesn't know that. We are the ones who come to know it when we investigate. So we subtract that amount and say this amount, the department is no longer liable because it's clearly fraudulent and it has been subtracted. So that's how we arrived at 3 billion when we kept on subtracting what is fraudulent and not going to be paid anyway.
Yeah, just for comparison, what is the quantum of genuine claims of medical negligence against the Department of Health?
What is the quantum?
What is the quantum of claims, genuine medical claims against the Department of Health?
No. You won't know that they are genuine until they are all investigated, Oliver, unfortunately. So
the ones that you have got the ones you've not yet, Minister, identified as fraudulent. What number are we talking about here?
It differs from province to province, Oliver. For instance, if you, in the press conference, I released a table for each province to show how many claims have been submitted and how many have been investigated and how many are left. So maybe I can just repeat that to you for Gauteng and Eastern Cape, and maybe if you allow me for KZN,
sure,
because those are the hardest hit. Yes, for Gauteng, they have submitted 2,450 medical legal claims to the value of 24.4 billion. And out of these 2,450, the SIU is busy with 611, which are worth 4.1 billion. And it means the rest have that's not yet been done. And out of this 611 million, which the SIU is busy with, they have concluded 58 to the value. 58 of them have been concluded to the value of 66 million, and their cases have been finalized.
Yeah, and so. Sorry, yes, Minister, complete that.
So in KZN, the claims are 2,440 to the tune of 29 billion, but SIU at the moment is busy with 713, which are worth 8 billion. So you can see that they are still at the beginning. It's a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, there's a serious question.
But in the same KZN, 107 matters valued at 2.4 have been completed, and that 2.4 have been subtracted because they were found to be fraudulent.
Yeah, I'm taking your reactions to the send us a WhatsApp voice on 0614-104-107. Minister, there's questions to be asked about the internal screening and audit mechanisms of the Department of Health. Because how is it that, let's look at Zuko's law firm, for instance, could submit 44 fraudulent claims? Surely after the 5th claim or after the 10th claim, when you see repetitions of quite literally the same claim with the same words, just a different name, it should have given some red flags for the department at a much earlier stage.
How earlier?
As soon as you start picking up a
because we said the escalation of these claims, we picked it up in 2015. That's when we realized there are a lot of claims that are coming in, which was unusual. But then we realized it was coinciding with the time the RAF, Road Accident Fund, was experiencing problems in payments and was hollowed out, but also was tightening its screws. Then that's when we called a medical legal summit to say there's a new phenomena here which we need to watch for. And in that medical legal summit, we put up mechanisms. We discussed mechanisms which must be done. Remember, in that summit, we had lawyers, we had private sector, we had public sector, we had experts. But then immediately thereafter, we called SIU. So that's SALS. We had picked up the problem. And the SIU started their investigation in 2017. The fact that we are seeing the results now doesn't mean that we didn't start early. They did it from 2017, but as you can see, the volume of the cases are such that it will have to, it forced them to take a very long time.
Has there been an increase in the amount of claims submitted that have been rejected because of suspicion of fraud?
These are the ones you can't just reject a claim because of suspicion. You have to subject it to investigation first, Oliver, unfortunately. Yeah. Because we can't work on guesswork, and that's why SIU has to investigate. And the ones who are releasing to you are those who they've investigated and concluded that they are fraud. The others just remain suspicious. Yeah. But the others are withdrawn by the lawyers themselves when we confront them. In the press conference, I gave an example of somebody who was claiming 70 million rand from the Limpopo Department of Health for something called a botched circumcision. And our investigation showed, out of suspicion, basically, even before we called SIU, showed that there was no circumcision performed. And we wrote to the law firm and said, please bring your client here to be examined by our own doctors. And the lawyer will immediately withdraw. Without any investigation yet.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the Road Accident Fund comparison, because the Road Accident Fund also identified unscrupulous and nefarious lawyers as the rotting in the system, right? What they said is that, in fact, people don't need a lawyer to submit a road accident fund claim. It is not that complex a process. Is a malpractice claim against the state a complex process that people do actually need lawyers, or can it be done without people having to rely on lawyers?
Well, I don't know what road accident fund mean. I'm a bit confused, Oliver, because what I know is that most of the claims are done by lawyers, except if you are submitting a claim of 50,000 rand or less. That one is done administratively. So what I'm asking is just processed.
So what I'm asking is, can all claims be processed administratively?
Well, if people don't want to use lawyers, they want to come on their own. But I haven't seen a single one making a claim on their own, because it's usually a legal process for now. And that is the process actually, Oliver, which we want to change, because we believe as long as there's an incentive to lawyers of lodging claims on behalf of clients.
So, Minister, you're inadvertently answering my question there. My question basically was, should there be a change of the system in how it's done? You say that you want to change the system. To what will you be changing?
Absolutely. We can give an example of what is practiced in Scandinavian countries, which we like very much, whereby instead of a shootout in court between lawyers, they put up a tribunal that consists of retired judges, retired professors of medicine, retired senior nurses, advocates, whereby they conclude. Let's give an example on road accident fund. You're involved in a road accident, you are on a wheelchair. Everybody can see that. We can see you are on a wheelchair. It's not a debate about that. Now, instead of going to court to debate it and let lawyers on both sides get a lot of money, that tribunal decides that because you are on a wheelchair, you need to be compensated. What is fair compensation under the circumstances? They sit and determine it, and then you get paid. That's the system we want to introduce in South Africa because it's a fair system.
Okay, fair point. Minister Motsoaledi, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it. That is the Minister of Health, Aaron Motsoaledi. I'm taking your reactions to that. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. Have you had your own experience with trying to submit a medical malpractice and negligence claim against the state? Did you use a lawyer? Did you find that the process was fair? Or perhaps you yourself were defrauded by a lawyer? Share your story with us, 086 000 2032. It's time for the 8 o'clock news, and I want to remind you about this. Essential Cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
Top stories at 8. Counterfeit goods worth millions of rands seized in Bellville, and the ICC to respond to Khan's request. For SAfm News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. Police in Cape Town have confiscated various brands of counterfeit goods worth 55 million rand in the Bellville CBD. The spokesperson, Malcolm Boyi, says officers recovered the goods and took them to the counterfeit depot after executing a search and seize at a premises. He says no arrests have been made.
The illicit trade in counterfeit goods and contraband not only has a detrimental effect on the economy of the country, but also poses a major risk to its inhabitants. As such, the SAPS remain resolute in clamping down on the illegal trade.
The Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is expected to hear the urgent application of the former Premier Ace Magashule's personal assistant to have her arrest declared unlawful. 37-year-old Muradi Cholota's legal team has argued that the 255 million rand asbestos corruption and fraud charges against her emerged from her refusal to comply with the state's demand for specific testimony. Cholota is out on bail of 2,500 rand. She was extradited from the US earlier this month. Legal analyst Thabo Moledia says the application has a prospect of success.
But our view in this case is that Muradi Cholota might succeed in her application, because our view is that the case of the state against Muradi Cholota is not that strong, and second to that, for the fact that she has been given bail of 2,500, it's also, in my view, indicative of the fact that the state does not have a good case against her. And thirdly, the fact that the state initially started off by saying, we want you to be our state witness, and she refused, and the state suddenly they change and say, no, now that you're refusing to be the state witness, we are now charging you with.
The Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape says additional teams will arrive from the Western Cape today to assist with addressing power outage problems. The estimated restoration time for the power outage in 14 areas of the municipality has been reduced from 14 to 7 days. A transformer has already been installed at the South End substation. The workforce has been increased and working hours have been extended to ensure faster restoration. Municipal spokesperson Setembiso Soyaya.
Contractors have begun excavating and planting poles, whilst the ESCOM team from the Eastern Cape has started installing steel monopoles and post insulators. Additional teams from the Western Cape will arrive tomorrow to expedite the process, with work continuing overnight to meet the revised timeline of 7 days. A transformer has been installed at the south end substation and cable terminations are underway and projected to be completed by the 26th of August 2024.
The International Criminal Court judges are yet to respond to the court's top prosecutor Karim Khan's request. He is seeking arrest warrants for individuals including the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar over the atrocities in Gaza and Israel. Kylie Lekumalo has more.
The International Criminal Court's top prosecutor, Karim Khan, says any unjustified delay in these proceedings detrimentally affects the rights of victims. The court says there are reasonable grounds to believe that Netanyahu, Gallant, Sin and others bear criminal responsibility for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Israeli Prime Minister says accusations against him remain a disgrace. Meanwhile, Hamas says its leaders should not be taken to task. South Africa has also taken Israel to the International Court of Justice, accusing it of committing a genocide in Gaza.
Thousands of people gathered in the Netherlands to celebrate their red hair at the annual Red Head Days festival in the southern town of Tilburg at the weekend. Redheads make up 1% to 2% of the world's population. According to the organizers, more than 10,000 people from over half a dozen countries attended the three-day festival, signing up for photo shoots, speed meeting events and a variety of workshops. Recapping the top story, police in Cape Town have confiscated various brands of counterfeit goods worth 55 million rand in Bellville CBD. I am Ondilambara for SAfm News, headlines at 8:30.
And that's your news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS car to 43187. Your car may be old, but driving without insurance is a risk every time you're on the road. Don't take the gamble. Outsurance Essential is affordable insurance for older cars, giving you up to 1 million rand liability cover and loads more. Plus, claims are paid out in cash, so you can use your own panel beater. Outsurance Essential is priced for cars older than 5 years, valued under 125,000 rand and not financed. SMS car to 43187 or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Two big delays coming in from the southern side of Gauteng this morning. Both of these fatal collisions, so they have been with us a while and probably will be for some time. One is on the N3 north at Heidelberg Road. It's a very heavy passing straight view. If you're coming in from Heidelberg or Phosphorus off-ramp at Barry Marais and take the side road, and a fatal crash on the R59 north before Clip River Drive, causing a big delay still arriving into Joburg from the Vaal side. Pretoria's N1 south, a crash down by the R21 highway. You've got the sinkhole closures there as well, so it's pretty chaotic all the way back to the N4 Emma-Lethlenny split. Durban bound coming in from Hillcrest to Kloof, a crash at the top of Fields Hill, backlogging traffic. Into north is heavy through Spaghetti Junction. M4 through Congella into city centre stays busy as well. Cape Town, everything on the go slow really because of the wet weather conditions. Nothing too desperate in terms of major incidents, but all the highways are fully loaded. I just want to get an update from Rebecca this morning. It is still quite slow as you route in towards the city centre. It looks like the N2 is still backing up through that flooding section, the sea flooding section, just before you get to the M4 Settlers Way split. So in from Bluewater Bay, it is quite heavy this morning. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SAfm Sports headlines, it's rugby. The Boks are set to announce their squad for the All Blacks showdown at Ellis Park this Saturday. And we have cricket, where the Proteas, they look ahead to tomorrow's T20 match against the West Indies after they lost the series 2-0. We'll bring you details around 8:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
8 minutes after 8 o'clock. My name is Oliver Dixon. Welcome to SAfm Breakfast. Thank you so much for being with us. More and more South Africans are turning to loan sharks and unscrupulous money lenders or unregulated money lenders as though they should not be unregulated, because banks are tightening their lending criteria and are bringing upon a myriad of interventions to secure themselves from bad debt. We're going to be talking about that. So this, of course, must be taken into context alongside the rising cost of living. Denny Mofsovitz, who's the marketing director for Atlas Finance, is going to join us for that conversation a little bit later on. I want to know from you, do you share pictures of your children on social media at all? And do you fear any of the dangers out there, or have you curated access to your social media in such a way that that fear may not necessarily exist? We're going to be talking about the dangers of social media posting, especially, parents who post their children when it's their birthdays and they just want to celebrate it, or when it's their first day of school or the start of a new school year or a specific milestone. We're going to be talking about that shortly. Do be with us. And the government is considering plans to reduce the burden of the price of fuel on customers. They'll be announcing, hopefully soon, according to the Democratic Alliance, a new fuel price structure in the coming days. We're going to be speaking to Wayne Duvenage of Outer about that in this hour, at the start of this hour. I'm taking your calls and reactions. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. Send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107, 10 minutes after 8.
Last year finalists Kabuyelo Masandawana trust that high-level focus will return them to the final. Meanwhile, Stellies plan to dismantle all of that and book the vital ticket to the last 22-man standing. This is the second leg of the MTN 8 semi-final. Stellenbosch FC clashes with Mamelodi Sundowns FC on Sunday, 1st September at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Get affordable car insurance and do more with the money you could save every month. 69-year-old Vivian can afford to treat herself more now that she pays an awesome car insurance premium of only 749 Rand per month to insure her grey 2024 Suzuki Jimny AT5DR. Do you want more? SMS out to 30754 to get a quote. That's out to 30754 now. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAfm Breakfast, helping you navigate your day.
It is 11 minutes after 8 o'clock. Now, the government is considering a new intervention to bring down at least the burden of the cost of fuel for consumers and motorists in South Africa. Cabinet is dealing with the high cost of fuel as part of their considerations. Now, we have previously seen some intervention in 2021, I recall. The government had, for instance, suspended the Road Accident Fund levy on fuel when we saw runaway crude oil prices at the time. Wayne Duvenage joins us from Outer. Wayne, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. More than half of what we spend on fuel are just taxes to the government. What interventions could they and should they consider?
So about 52% of our petrol price is made up of just the basic fuel price, which is buying the fuel from overseas, impacted by our rand exchange rate as well as the international oil prices. And then the rest, about 48%, is made up of taxes, more than half of that, about 27%, as you said, the fuel levy and the road accident fund being the bulk of that. And those two alone, around R6.18. So that's a big component, and I think, as you mentioned, for the first time, the last 3 years, actually, Ina Godongwana, the Minister of Finance, has not increased those levies, and that's a good sign, because we've been saying for many years, you can't just keep pushing those taxes up. But it's in these other areas that I think there's a potential for adjusting the fuel price, and that's in the supply chain margins and the transportation costs. These are the levies that are applied to the retailers and wholesalers, where we believe they've pushed those costs up. But at best, they could probably only squeeze about R1 a litre maximum out of that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what government plans to do in this regard, other than reducing the actual taxes, which is the fuel levy. and there they can play quite a lot. But then they're going to have to find those taxes somewhere else, and we are broke as a country. Well, we're under pressure, so it will be very difficult for them to reduce those taxes other than hold them as they've been doing.
Yeah. The price regulation around fuel is based on international external factors such as the fluctuation in the price of crude. And if you're buying crude oil in a dollar denomination, against a weak rand, you feel the pinch of that. Are there ways in which, and government has said before that they would consider leveraging our relationship with BRICS partner countries that are oil producing countries to be able to benefit from that, from an oil production, from an oil buying perspective, perhaps changing the denomination in which we purchase oil so that we don't have, the weakness of a dollar rand denomination hampering that. Is that something that would be accepted favorably?
Look, it's going to be difficult because the rand, whichever way you look at it, in whichever currency, is a challenge. So if you're buying it, either in dollars or euros or through Chinese currencies, Russian currencies, it doesn't matter. You're still under pressure because it balances out across all denominations. So I don't see how that's going to affect the price of purchasing the crude oil based prices. But if there is a way, I think they should have explored that a long time ago and already exercised that. So I can't see how that's going to play out in the short term.
Yeah, zero VAT rated fuel would bring a 15% relief to consumers. That's significant.
Well, there isn't VAT applied to fuel. It's taxes, but there's no VAT that's applied to the basic fuel price.
Yeah. And lastly, in what ways should government be considerate to the margins of fuel retailers in the adjustment of the fuel price?
Yeah, that's where the challenge is always going to be. We've always said there's R2.86 there that is paid to the retailers. Now you must remember that by law, we may not, as individuals, as if you've been to Europe or any other country, you can pump your own fuel. In fact, you pump your own fuel. There are no pump jockeys, so to speak. Yeah, you can't do that. So this is what is regarded as a forced situation of labour protection, and because we are struggling when it comes to job creation, I think most will agree that maybe that is fine. That we do have the pump jockeys there, and that's protected labour. To try and remove that, and that's where this whole issue around deregulating petrol can come in. But then you'll pump your own fuel, probably save about R1 a litre, and I think if we offered that to the public, they would take that up.
Yeah, Wayne, we're going to have to leave it there. Wayne Duvenesh, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. That's the CEO of Outer. Taking your reactions to that, 0614-104-107 for your WhatsApp voice note, 086-000-2032 for your calls.
Call us on 086-000-2032.
Let's take some of your calls and reactions. We begin with Fred in Polokwane. Fred, you want to respond to the conversation with the health minister? Go for it.
Good morning, Oliver.
Yes, go ahead, Fred.
I want to talk about the minister Aaron Motsoaledi. For me, it's nothing but to appreciate his level of management and leadership. I so wish that many people who are given the portfolio position in terms of ministerial position should basically copycat the responsibility and the way in which that man is leading. But to cut the matter very short, straight to the point, it is very true that there are many instances whereby lawyers are alleged to have done things that are wrong. But what I can simply say is just to say, let them investigate as to what is the causation that they allege that those lawyers have done those errors or those price fixing or whatever the circumstance, without lambasting them. Let me just firstly get to know the root cause of what made or purported the lawyers to basically find themselves in that position. Yeah. That's what I can simply say, because you may find that there are a lot of things that basically are behind the whole scene. And once it is found out, I believe we'll definitely be able to understand as to what might be the possible recourse for that.
Yeah, Fred, thank you so much for your call. Appreciate it. Fred calling us there from Polokwane. Let's speak to Billy in Limpopo. Billy, you want to comment on Minister Motsoaledi's conversation as well? Go for it.
Good, sir. Look, Oliver, the lawyers are just the agents of law. The enablers of that corruption is the staff of the minister, the doctors, whoever who's collaborating with them. Now, the minister is not even telling us what is the precautionary measures for such enablers, his staff. Because in any way, for me to get a medical record, it must be through the department. Now, the lawyers, if they reduplicate any record, it means they've also collaborated with Home Affairs. Because if, for example, it is Bilu who was involved in an accident, then the lawyer will then change my identity to that of Oliver. How will he get that access to Oliver's records? That now this time is Oliver, and I'm claiming. It means also the Department of Home Affairs part of the problem.
Yeah.
Now, it's very holistic. You must not just blame the lawyer. These are mere agents. They just do as they are told, or they can also do it, but the real enabler is within government itself.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Billy. Thank you so much for your call. Temba in Heidelberg, you want to comment on the Joburg Mayor, Dada Murer?
Yes, Brotherman. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm cool, Brotherman. Brotherman, in my opinion, we will be short now, because this ANC government and these people does not cease to amaze us. But me, I'm not shocked, man, because in my opinion, it is ANC's unwritten policy that South Africans are second class, in this country, rating second class in this area.
Yeah, Timber, thanks a lot for your call. I'm going to have to do that. Yeah. Sorry, Timber. Yeah, I am going to have to leave it there. Thanks a lot for your call. Appreciate it. Timber calling us from Heidelberg. Pumzile in the Eastern Cape. Pumzile, go for it. Good morning.
Good morning, Oliver. Oliver, I'll be very short and to the point. I'm calling you this morning very, very much aggrieved with the condition of the hospital in Humansdorp. And this hospital is under a leadership of a CEO whom I believe is not actually providing leadership in that hospital. That hospital is deteriorated to an extent that, when people go there, they must wait something like an hour and a half to be attended, And the condition of the hospital itself is to such an extent that people, the public, in fact, is not even that much interested to go to that government hospital. The last point is, I wonder what criteria does government apply to appoint CEOs for hospital? Is a person not supposed at least to have a medical background how can you appoint a person with no medical background to take charge and provide stewardship over doctors and nurses, qualified medical practitioners? There's lack of leadership in that hospital. I've raised many a times issues with that CEO. And this morning, he tended to be personal. And I am saying on air that I will be escalating my grievances with the province and national government insofar as the deteriorating state of this hospital in Humansdorp.
Yeah, Pumzile, thank you so much for your call. Appreciate it. Pumzile calling us there from the Eastern Cape.
Weeknights on S3 are all about winning, and winning big with Wheel of Fortune.
For the first time in South Africa, Wheel of Fortune is on S3, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m., where Rorisang has South Africans locked into the world of word puzzles. Watch contestants spin the wheel to stand a chance of walking away with 100,000 Rand or a car valued at over 500,000 Rand. You can also be part of the show and win big. To be part of the show, log on to wheeloffortunesa.tv and let the wheel decide your fate. Channel your inner wordsmith with Wheel of Fortune SA on S3. Open up.
What comes to mind when you hear the titles like Skeem Saam, Generations, The Legacy, and Uzalo? Perhaps the words are Royalty Classics and The Stars and Drama. SABC One proudly brings you the 7th Royalty Soapie Awards, awarding the excellence in the soapies across all of Mzansi's broadcasters. Tune in for all the glitz and the glam broadcasting Saturday, 31 August from 8 p.m. only on SABC One, Mzansi for sure.
The Science of Life on SAFM.
Yeah, this morning we want to talk about the dangers of exposing your children to the world of the internet by posting your children on social media. Sharenting, which is the act of parents sharing their children. Is there a difference between sharing and oversharing? We have this conversation with Dean Mokobri, who is the social media expert and member of the Digital Parenting Club, an online platform that offers parents advice on digital parenting insights, news, apps, settings, tips, and how to teach children about the online dangers. Dean, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Is there a difference between sharing and oversharing?
I suppose if you're the parent, you will feel like I'll share as much as I like. I think that's a very, very important thing to start with, because yes, if you overshare, that is going to be dependent on how somebody else feels about it. You might say, no, I can share as much as I like. But the challenge is with kids, as they get older, they become very sensitive about what's being shared. And the reason why they're sensitive is, first of all, in this kind of very complex social dynamic, their brains are extra switched on about how much people are looking at them. Literally, from a neuroscientific point of view, their brains are like a little bit hyperactive about being, that's why they say, Dad, just drop me off at school and stop making such a noise. They feel like a lot of people are actually looking at them. So when they get into their adolescence, that kind of spikes. Now, if you keep posting lots of images that they don't want you to post, then, they will feel that you are oversharing. And I think that's what's really interesting. In addition, when you look at their digital footprint, if there are lots of public photos of them out there that they didn't want out there, once they get to a later age, they can't scrub them. So right now, when they're younger, you'll go, but I can do anything I like. And of course, you're the parent, you can. But somewhere down the line, it becomes more tricky. And there are cybersecurity issues.
Yeah. So that dopamine spike makes sense if it is, or at least the inverse of it, if it's the child posting it themselves. But oftentimes, children and parents' social media spheres don't quite overlap like that.
No, and I think, the dopamine spike is very interesting. So, for anybody that might not necessarily understand it, is, we get a reward in our brain. We call it brain sugar. We try and explain to kids it's almost like candy, and that you get it when you get a like or a recognition and so on. And so you also get it from gaming. If you're on a mission and you win in the game, you get this kind of reward in your brain. So what happens with parents, and I'm going to keep saying this because the big challenge that I have is the digital divide, the fact that parents and kids don't quite understand each other. Parents can say, but hold on, you're sharing, what's the difference with me sharing? Well, the kids are getting a bit of their own dopamine, and you're getting a bit of your own dopamine, but you haven't necessarily discussed whether you're okay with the fact that they're getting dopamine from sharing your photos. Yeah. It's a really funny little thing, but it is worth thinking about.
Yeah, let's have a listen at this WhatsApp voice note from one of our listeners in reaction to this.
Hey, Oliver. I do not share my children on social media, but I have signed at school that they can share here for photographs, for adverts, but in that case, there's many other kids, so you never know whose kid is what. But if you look at our school catalog, if a parent signed not to share, you can see that the face is blocked out. nicely with maybe a hut or whatever, but I don't think it's safe. Even if they do something cute, I will only share with a specific person. Thanks, it's Bongi here.
That's fascinating. Dean, what's your reaction to Bongi's voice note there?
I honestly think it's very responsible and very mature. And I think what she said, which is absolutely amazing, is you don't have to share it on social media. You can share it to very small private groups that you trust. So you can share it on a family WhatsApp group, or you can share it even if you wish. But remember, as soon as you get outside that family group, there can be increased risks. So it's a friend group, but say you fall out with that friend, for example. But I'm not meaning to be kind of over scaremongering. All I'm trying to say is I think it's true. Social media is so public, and what's happening and what we're seeing increasingly in this world is that there are privacy risks, there are hacking risks. Faces can be copied. Kids are catfishing. Kids are cyberbullying each other. You know, unfortunately, the digital tattoo of your face that's out there can be used against you. And unfortunately, it's just become complicated like that. So share it in much smaller groups that you really trust. Then that goes away.
Yeah. Dean, thank you so much for your time. We're going to have to leave it there. Dean Mokobri, who is a social media expert and member of the Digital Parenting Club. I'm taking your reactions to that. 0614-104-107. It's 8:30. Let's take your latest headlines.
Headlines at 8:30 on SAfm. I am Ondalambana and a very good morning. The Action SA Gauteng caucus leader Funzi Ngobeni strongly opposed to the newly appointed Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero's proposal to employ documented foreign nationals in law enforcement in the city. Police in Cape Town have confiscated various brands of counterfeit goods worth 55 million rand in Bellville CBD, and the Telegram messaging service has condemned the arrest of its billionaire founder Pavel Durov in France. It says Telegram abides by EU laws and it's absurd to hold its Russian-born owner responsible for abuses of the platform. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The Mike 1 South into Joburg, very heavy. You'll come off the N1 mid-Rand with not a bad flow for a Monday, but you'll get into Buccleuch and then you'll sit all the way down to Marlborough Drive. It's particularly bad. M2, Joe Slovo, down to the Crown interchange, looking fairly heavy. And traffic conditions on both the R59 north at Clip River Drive and the N3 north at Spradeview. Both of those roads with fatal collision scenes earlier, but traffic is starting to ease up. Breakdown on the N3 south at Van Buren, so heavy traffic coming through Galooly. The M12 and R24 routes as well as the N3 South are all backed up. Pretoria, the N1 South, that stays slow to Rigel Avenue. Queues back to Gaasfontein. That's an earlier crash in the sort of long-term sinkhole restrictions there. And the N14 in that high collision zone in the mornings. N14 eastbound towards Pretoria has yet another crash just before Brakfontein, so slow going there as well. Durban Z2 North staying busy for this time of day between the M7 and Westwood Mall. The M4 leaving Umhlanga is quite slow down towards Virginia Airport. N2 at Gqeberha in from Deal Party and Blue Water Bay towards City Centre starting to ease up after some flooding restrictions caught the big early morning volume out today. And Cape Town just generally busy everywhere on account of the weather, particularly the N1. It's queuing up from Plattekloof Hill territory all the way through to the city centre. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Sai Khan.
Good morning. Let's start with the Springboks. They're gearing up for a crucial rugby championship clash against the All Blacks at Ellis Park this Saturday. With the squad announcement set for midday, fans are eager to see if rookie Gerard Steenkamp will start at loosehead prop, while Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu is expected to retain the number 10 jersey. Peter Steph du Toit might shift to lock in a key tactical move. With the Boks leading the championship table after 2 wins in Australia, the pressure is on to keep up the momentum. In the meantime, cricket, the Proteas collapsing from a commanding position to lose by 30 runs to the West Indies in their second T20 international. Chasing 180, South Africa were 129 for 3 before losing 7 wickets for just 20 runs. Reza Hendricks top scored with 44, but the West Indian bowlers, led by Romario Shepherd's, 3 for 15 sealed the victory. Shamar Joseph chipped in with 3 for 31 as the Proteas fell short at 149, handing the series to the West Indies with an unassailable 2-0 lead. They go into the third T20 tomorrow at 9 p.m. Soccer, Cape Town Spurs assistant coach Vasily Manusakis is not ruling out the possibility of more players leaving the club before the transfer window closes next month should their suitors meet the club's evaluation. Now, Manusakis' comments comes just after Spurs CEO was reported to have said they have closed shop now and will be concentrating on the new Motsepe Foundation Championship season. SABC Sport broke the story of Spurs turning down Kaizer Chiefs' offer for winger Asanele Velebi and the Stellenbosch FC pursuit of the Spurs striker Ashley Cupido. Let's hear now from the Cape Town Spurs assistant coach.
Open, they have a certain valuations in their minds. They've developed the player for many years. There's a certain price, and if somebody is willing to pay the price for the diamonds, I think they said, then everything is for sale. Again, we want to keep our best players, but we cannot stop them. So I'm sure between now and the end of the season, there'll be 1 or 2 more offers coming in. And we want the best for the club, we want the best for the players, so let's see.
So it's possible that before the window closes, even next month, something could still happen if they meet the evaluation of the club?
Absolutely. Definitely a possibility. We have to be realistic, so I cannot say nobody's going anywhere because that is not how it is. So yeah, there is a possibility.
Motorsport, Lando Norris delivered a masterclass at the Dutch Grand Prix, securing his second win of the season, stunning the home favourite Max Verstappen. And finally, boxing, the former world champion Floyd Mayweather went the distance against John Gotti III in an exhibition fight in Mexico City. The 47-year-old Mayweather fought Gotti in an 8-round fight with no judges in Mexico. It was a rematch of a fight that ended in a massive brawl in Florida last June. Now, Mayweather, who retired from boxing in 2017 with an unbeaten record of 50 bouts, dominated the fight from the second round when the fighter, nicknamed Money, asked for a change of referee. At the end of the fight, Mayweather and Gotti III embraced in the ring as Mexican fans loudly booed. That's where we wrap it up for now. More sport around 12:30 with John Herika. I'm Zai Khan.
That Springbok
best
is going to be tough, eh?
Oh, I mean,
the controversies around, I think, who do you choose as a 10?
Who do you choose as a 10?
There are 3 options. Do you go with Mani Lebok, who seems to be in good form right now? Do you push Sasha Ngobeni Feinberg Ngomezulu to 12? What do you do with Henry Pollard? And then there's 9. Do you start Kobus Reinach? Do you start Grant Williams? Do you bring the other off the bench? This might be the toughest selection ever. Last time they played the All Blacks, they went with the 7-1 split. So if they go with that again, it means there's only one backline player they can put on the bench.
Oh, and I'm also thinking about Gerard Steenkamp. Will he start over Ox and Chair?
Ooh.
And Ox, you can't put a price on that experience.
Yeah, also strength.
And
brute strength.
Of course.
My goodness. Look, here's my take. Start Mani Lebok at 10. Puts Sasha Ngomezulu at fullback 15, which is a position he's played before. So then you have the playmaking of Mani, but then you have the boot of Sasha. And I don't think that, and this is controversial, I don't think Andre brings anything to the table that those 2 players don't collectively bring.
And we'll also see the stalwarts. You've got the likes of Siya Kolisi.
Yeah.
Jasper Visser.
Oh, it's gonna be fascinating.
Be so interesting.
Yeah. Zai, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. 23 minutes to the top of the 9.
The business update on SAfm.
Ntaling is back with the business update in this hour. This is the final one for SAfm Breakfast. Investors show an interest in AutoZone. Ntaling?
Now, AutoZone has been in voluntary business rescue since the 1st of July, but the business rescue practitioners have not published the business rescue plan. According to the Companies Act, now, when a company goes into business rescue, the plan must be made public within 25 days of the rescue team being appointed. but this time frame can be extended if the court or the majority of creditors agree to it, and that's what we've been seeing play out at AutoZone, with the practitioners delaying the publication of the plan for a second time now. In a notice, it said that the company requires an additional 2-week extension to allow potential bidders to complete the due diligence process and submit final binding offers. Now, for over a year, there were rumors that AutoZone would be sold, but nothing came of it. Grandmark International, a major automotive parts wholesaler, was reportedly interested in buying AutoZone, but backed out. Now there's new speculation that a company within Invicta Group might be interested in acquiring AutoZone. Analysts seem to believe this is true, considering that Invicta said it's looking to invest in South African businesses again in its last set of results, and it does have a unit that currently sells automotive equipment. So speculation is that they could be expanding that unit.
Yeah, and I don't want to get overly optimistic about, better days in the economy, but South Africans' take-home salary, the average take-home salary is up 5.9% in July. This is lower than in the same period, the rate of inflation of the same period. So this, I don't know when last we've seen a income increase exceeding the rate of inflation. It must have been a while.
That's right. So this is according to data by BankServe. It's the BankServe take-home pay index. As you mentioned, average salaries increased 5.9% last month. Take-home pay increased from 15,452 rands in July 2023 to 16,358 this year, reflecting, I guess, an improved business environment. Now, BankServe Africa measures average salaries by adding up all the money paid into bank accounts except for amounts over 100,000 rand, and then dividing it by the number of people paid. They look at electronic payments made through the national banking system to do this. Now, there are a combination of factors that have boosted confidence, of course, including those no power outages for about 5 months now, decreased inflation that we've been seeing come through, a new political landscape, and the potential for lower interest rates in the future. While the increase in take-home pay is encouraging, it does mask the stark reality that the unemployment rate increased in the first half of 2024. An economist involved in putting the print together, Lise Kruger, said if this trend is sustained for the remainder of the year, 2024 will likely be the best year for salaries since 2020.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating. I hope that really does sustain and that it signals real economic growth. 20 minutes before the markets open, what are we looking forward to?
So a busy week for local traders who will be digesting tons of earnings reports. Markets will be waking up to numbers from private education players, Stadio and Advitech, as well as CTM owner Italtile. The local unit also starting the day off on a good note, benefiting from a weaker dollar, rather. It's sitting at 17.79 to the greenback. Over in Wall Street, earnings also in focus. Traders are eyeing numbers from Nvidia, with some analysts saying that earnings report has the power to shift markets if sales and profits come under expectations. In Asia, stocks on track to close off Monday on a mixed note, with the Nikkei and Shanghai index taking the biggest hits.
Yep, darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Back with you tomorrow for the continuation of the business update. 18 minutes before the top of the hour.
Weeknights on S3 are all about winning, and winning big with Wheel of Fortune. For the first time in South Africa, Wheel of Fortune is on S3, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m, where Rorisang has South Africans locked into the world of word puzzles. Watch contestants spin the wheel to stand a chance of walking away with 100,000 rand or a car valued at over 500,000 rand. You can also be part of the show and win big. To be part of the show, log on to wheeloffortunesa.tv and let the wheel decide your fate. Channel your inner wordsmith with Wheel of Fortune SA on S3. Open up.
Northwest Provincial Legislature's Portfolio Committee on Premier and Finance will conduct public hearings on Northwest Youth Entrepreneurship Service Fund Act Repeal Bill 2023 on 30 August 2024 at Madibuho Community Hall in Madibuho, Trim Park Hall in Potchefstroom, Ipelege Multipurpose Center in Schweizerreneke, and Mokwase Sports Ground Park Zone 1 in Mokwase at 10 o'clock. The bill aims to provide for the repeal of the Northwest Youth Entrepreneurship Service Fund Act 2016, Act number 6 of 2016, and provide for matters connected therewith.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the top 8 take on a new challenge. This week, they delve into the world of social media and learn what it takes for a recipe video to go viral online. Working together, they must create their own unique version of a famous social media bake. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAfm. Leading the conversation.
It is 15 minutes before 9 a.m. When was the last time you took a short-term loan from a loan shark? You know those people who are unscrupulous. They are a law unto themselves. They're unregulated. They set their own interest rates and their own repayment terms. And, you know, oftentimes when you default, they meet you with violence. Those people. More and more South Africans depend on them, despite us just discussing now in the business update that earnings have for the first time outpaced the rate of inflation in quite a while. Danny Mofsowitz, who is the marketing director for Atlas Finance, joins us for this conversation. Danny, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Perhaps to ask the question, how much more than before are South African reliant on loan sharks?
Good morning, Oliver, and good morning to your listeners. Unfortunately, you know, Oliver, because of the tough economic environment at the moment, we're seeing people resorting to loan sharks and unscrupulous lenders, probably more than we've ever seen before. There has been a sharp increase in that behavior.
Yeah, obviously, oftentimes we get warnings from the Financial Sector Conduct Authority about not very specifically pointing out certain lenders or institutions that are not adhering to the regulations or that themselves are not even registered as a financial service provider or regulated to that effect. But it seems like that if economic conditions are going to worsen, those warnings are going to fall on deaf ears. What then is to be done?
I think there is a huge need for education. The industry is highly regulated, and thank goodness there are bodies like the National Credit Regulator and Microfinance South Africa that represents responsible and regulated providers. Because of the cost of compliance, unfortunately, loan sharks have popped up, and what we've seen a big trend is also people on social media, parties on social media who are posing as regulated and scrupulous providers, and they are also scamming the public. So you've got this as well as another risk for the public who are under pressure and who are desperate for extra finances.
Yeah. How big of a problem is that people posing as credible registered institutions or as representatives from those institutions in order to scam people?
We're seeing a huge increase. So because I think people are interacting more on social media. Social media has become so widely used. Opportunists are taking advantage of that and prying on people who are desperate. Also, we always see, in the lead up to the festive season, there are, scammers who take opportunities to pry on vulnerable people who are desperate for loans. And there are some warning signs that you can tell whether somebody is going to scam you. And I would really like to share those with your listeners.
Let's get into that.
Becoming so right.
How do I know somebody who purports to be an agent of, say, Atlas Finance is not an agent of Atlas Finance?
Okay, so the biggest red flag and the biggest risk is when people ask you for an amount of money in order to process or approve a loan. So that is the biggest red flag. Never give money over in order for your loan to be approved. Because what we find is that after the fact, people become the best investigators. You can join all the dots, but you've already paid your money over. And there's really not much you can do because these guys disappear. So look at that. Never pay money over in order for a loan to be approved. Never give OTPs, your PIN numbers, any personal information like that over to anybody. And if you've got any doubt, a good resource is somebody like Microfinance South Africa, who represents all the legitimate and regulated and responsible credit providers in the country. They are an excellent resource that you can, if there's any doubt, phone them and they'll be able to guide you. But do not pay any money over until you know that responsible lenders are never going to ask you for a fee up front. So just, don't pay up any fees up front.
Yeah. And when it comes to sort of things like the interest rate, how do you know if an interest rate is either too good to be true or too outrageous that this person must be unscrupulous?
Yes, absolutely. So that is usually, so if somebody is kind of baiting the public, they will offer huge loans at low interest rates to high risk people. So that sounds too good to be true, and it usually is. And then the interest rate is regulated by the National Credit Regulator. So that's usually assessed according to, individually according to a client's risk profile, but all of that is regulated. And you would be able to find that information from the National Credit Regulator. What
is the range that is regulated?
So, there are different brackets that loan providers or credit providers fall into, and each of them have their own criteria, according to if somebody is providing security, such as a home or an asset, then there would be different different rates and fees for that type of loan versus a short-term loan. There are different tiers with different interest rates attached to those tiers.
Yeah, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Danny, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Danny Mofsowitz is the marketing director for Atlas Finance. Taking your reactions to that on 0614 104 107. It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic. Very good morning. The bike one stays heavy today, coming through to Marlborough Drive. It's not a bad run through Midrand, actually. A little bit of traffic down to New Road, but after that it gets heavy as you come off the N1 and onto the bike one down as far as Marlborough Drive. There is some pressure on the N1 from Rivonia and the N3 from Limbro Park getting through Buccleuch for a turn into that Mike 1 South. Also the M12 and R24 it's into Galulis coming in from the east, stay heavy. There's a breakdown on the N3 North causing a backlog in towards Galulis interchange as well, and a crash on the N14 heading to Pretoria at Brockfontein interchange. So quite a heavy backlog pushing back towards the R55 Pretoria West off-ramp side. Durban today, N2 running north, stays busy into Spaghetti Junction. Just ahead of the roadworks, there's a broken down vehicle, so coming through from the M7, it's all jammed up. Don't forget Van Reenen's pass through to Swinburne will be slow. Overnight truck fire on that section of roadway has just dropped it down to a sort of contraflow setup. So you've got that, plus you've got the roadworks going north at Van Reenen's pass as well. So a couple of delays to work through. Came down the R44, Somerset West through to Stellenbosch. That's queuing into Jamestown. Strandfontein Road up to Jan Smuts. There's a heavy backlog this morning. Up towards Govan and Becky Road. I think you're running into some roadworks there. And the N1 stays heavy with queues from sort of N1 city territory through the wet weather conditions all the way into the city centre. Behind that, Marine Drive, particularly heavy Pardon Island to get into the N1. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Taking your calls and reactions this morning, 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial. But let's have a listen at some of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Morning. I just quickly want to comment on the issue of children that we find on the internet or parents posting their children on social media. I don't know how public should a person be for them to be able to be comfortable in putting their own children on social media. I've always been a private person myself. I barely put myself or my clear pictures on social media. So I find it very, very weird, and I believe that there should be some sort of like a law, because as much as we claim to be protective of our own children, most of the parents that I know, or even friends, they are so comfortable in putting their children and family on social media. I think the law should protect the children when it comes to this effect. Yeah, that's basically how I feel.
Good morning, Oliver and SAfm listeners.
Perhaps it's about time the Reserve Bank starts intervening in the foreign exchange market. They have billions and billions of US dollars sitting there as vault cash. Why don't they sell some of these billions of US dollars in exchange for rands so we can see an appreciation of the rand? At least petrol prices will go down. Thanks, Lionel Woodbank.
Hi Oliver, it's Joseph here from Randbeck. I just want to call regarding Pumzile from Humansdorp, where he says a CEO for a hospital needs to have a medical background. You don't need to have a medical background. You need to have qualifications in management and also in leadership. Not necessarily to be a medical doctor. No, that is not what you need.
Oliver, hi, are you well? This is JCK, counter from Musina. Oliver, welcome to Raxien. It seems there is no leadership qualities in Dada Morero. He seemed to blunder in his first step of the way. Where is South African first principles? How many millions of unemployed South Africans do we have? This thing of giving power to people who don't have vision, it's a major problem in the ANC. Let me rest my case for now. Jessica, counter from Sina.
Oliver, good morning. Can you ask the minister, Mr. Mutwaledi, just to check and clean up the corruption that is taking place, particularly to the COVID health workers? To the COVID health workers 2023. There are those there are those employees, health workers who are still outside. And I don't know what's happening about that corruption. Can you ask the minister to clean up that corruption that is taking place? Thank you.
Oliver, and this is the biggest concern for me. You know, the minister and the government think that in its eye is the silver bullet. It's not. There is so much underlying issues. So much underlying issues. You know, your health department that needs to get sorted. These are one. Besides the fraudulent one, one hand fraudulent, one hand medical claim is too much. We're still talking about millions and billions that has been claimed against the government. I mean, we need to sort out these things, man. Thank you.
Good morning, SAfm. I call upon all the political parties that are in council in Joburg to call the executive mayor, Tata Morero, into order. What nonsense is he trying to do by recruiting foreign nationals? I really don't understand. We're trying to clean Joburg. Someone out there wants to recruit foreign nationals. What nonsense is that? Thanks, Oliver. This is Luzuku.
Well, that idea died as soon as it was birthed, right? The Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, and also the chairperson of the ANC says he'd engaged with the mayor after he heard the statement, which was made during the ANC's regional Lekgotla. And the Lekgotla had rejected the mayor's recommendation and idea. And the Premier says that the mayor had undertaken to not pursue that thing and to let go of it. And the mayor agreed. So that idea is dead. There's no conversation left to be had about that.
Good morning, Oliver. I hope that you are fine. I just want to check with the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron. How many of these firms that have made claims are black lawyers? And these are the same people who are going to fight to be included in the Constitutional Court to become judge presidents. These are the same people who are going to be fought to be included at the top echelon of our justice system. Shame on us.
Good morning, Bro Oliver. It's Frederick Trucker. Bro Oliver, it seems like the business, they feel threatened. The rich people, these doctors, these associations of doctors, they feel threatened because wherever they were eating on the unhealthy of poor black people. What is wrong with these people? They don't want other people to have a better health because they are feasting on that. Yarr!
Good morning, Oliver. I hope that you are fine.
Good morning, Oliver. Good morning to your team. Great show always. It's good to hear your voice coming back 90%. It's Uncle JJ, the truck driver.
Oliver, my question is, when are we expecting Ramaphosa and Kosatu to come and explain about these 2 ports? Where our money is going? What business are they going to do with our money? Why are they allowing us to have access of little amount if we have? If you don't have, which means you are going to suffer consequences. Why? They must come and explain before one will seek to him.
Yeah, no, we'll get an expert to explain. There's a lot of misunderstanding there. It's a very common practice. You submit a withdrawal from your pension fund. It gets taxed. That's literally how it's always worked. It's not a new thing. Maybe there's a conversation to be had about whether SARS should tax the savings pot of the 2-pot system, or whether or not they should let go of that and only tax the annuity pot of the 2 savings pot of the 2-pot system and not the savings pot. That's a real debate to be had, and those submissions should have been made at the level of public engagement on this, but we'll engage on that further. Luzuko in the Eastern Cape, good morning. Go for it very briefly.
Good morning, Oliver.
Yeah, go for it very briefly.
Yeah, look, Oliver, I was saying, these guys, the loan sharks, I had a job in Edenvale. So I was working as a night shift packer. But because of COVID, I was reduced. In fact, I was taken to a day, so my money was reduced. I was forced to go to those loan sharks, bro. So what happened is that they abused me at work. They abused me at my residential area. I was forced to leave Joburg because of them.
My goodness.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Luzuko in the Eastern Cape, thank you for your call. Thank you for your engagements throughout the show. It's lots happening in the world today, in the country today. We're going to keep an eye on that for you and bring you updates on that early in the morning. Of course, some of the stories that we covered here today are not new. They will continue, and we'll bring you rolling updates on that as they develop, especially that 2-pot system conversation. We'll bring you some experted advice on that. From myself and the team, it's goodbye for now. But before I go, I just want to remind you of this. Essential Cover from OUTsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
Thank you, Oliver. Top stories at 9. Morero's employment proposal of foreign nationals criticized, and counterfeit goods worth millions of rands seized in Bellville. For SAfm News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. The Action SA Gauteng caucus leader Funzi Ngobeni is strongly opposed to the newly appointed Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero's proposal to employ documented foreign nationals in law enforcement in the city. Morero told the ANC's regional Lekgotla that documented foreign nationals would assist Johannesburg Metro Police Department to deal with language barriers when arresting foreign nationals. The Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, and the Action SA interim chairperson, Michael Beaumont, are among those who have criticized the proposal. Morero has since retracted the proposal, which Ngobeni says is not practical.
We don't agree with that, and we think it won't happen because it will be in contravention of the Public Service Act in the first place. But also, can you imagine how practical that is going to be? How many languages that are spoken by these criminals that are coming outside of the country? But in any event, people, when they get arrested and they need translation, they do get it when they arrive in court. The court processes do afford them that translation. Our police must be allowed to do their work. They must fight crime. They must arrest these individuals.
Police in Cape Town have confiscated various brands of counterfeit goods worth 55 million rand in the Bellville CBD. The spokesperson, Malcolm Boyi, says officers recovered the goods and took them to the counterfeit depot after executing a search and seizure at the premises. He says no arrests have been made.
The illicit trade in counterfeit goods and contraband not only has a detrimental effect on the economy of the country, but also poses a major risk to its inhabitants. As such, the SAPS remain resolute in clamping down on the illegal trade.
A Mpumalanga family is seeking justice after its 22-year-old member sustained serious burn wounds after being set alight allegedly by her boyfriend in Caroline last week. The suspect, 34-year-old Innocent Maseko, is expected to make a second appearance in a local magistrate court today. He is facing a charge of attempted murder. The incident happened in the early hours of Tuesday last week. Neighbors heard the screams of the woman and alerted the police. They found the woman covered in flames while the suspect was pouring her with some flammable liquid. The woman is in the Withdrawal hospital where she is fighting for her life. Her sister is Nomcebo Beni.
Mali, she's been in an abusive relationship for a long time. They've been staying together. On that day, what happened is that the guy was demanding food and money to Mali. And Mali, she said she didn't have anything, and the guy poured a petrol and set a fire on her. Then the neighbor saw everything and rescued Mali. We are not okay. We want to see justice. We want Spoto to go to jail for a very long time. It's also if we see Spoto walking around the streets.
The Gauteng Health Department will today open a newly extended unit for burn victims at the Krisani Baragwanath Academic Hospital in Soweto. The Wits Roy McAlpine Burns unit will cater for close to 1,000 burn patients each year. The department says this will help to improve the quality of service the hospital offers. The MEC Nomandungomo Ralihugu and the Wits Vice Chancellor and Principal Professor Zebulon Vilakazi will jointly officially open the unit. The department spokesperson is Mutalatali Mudiba.
Annually, over 700 patients, including adults and children with severe burns, are admitted at the unit for critical care. Extending this wing will increase the unit's capacity to offer more people treatment that they need, and also it's going to boost the unit's capacity for advanced research.
In news further afield, the Telegram messaging service has condemned the arrest of its billionaire founder, Pavel Durov, in France. It says Telegram abides by EU laws and it's absurd to hold its Russian-born owner responsible for abuses of the platform. Telegram's been accused of not cooperating with the investigations into drug trafficking, child sex abuse images and fraud. Russian MP Maria Butina says the arrest is part of a witch hunt against her country's citizens.
The arrest of Pavel Durov means freedom of speech in Europe is dead. Elon Musk is free, Mark Zuckerberg is free, but Pavel Durov is now in prison. Why? Because he's Russian. He has been traced as a person to be a scapegoat for the West as an evil Russian.
Recapping the top story, the Action SA Gauteng caucus leader Funzi Ngobeni is strongly opposed to the newly appointed Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero's proposal to employ documented foreign nationals in law enforcement in the city. I am Ondelambana for SAfm News, headlines at 9:30.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today, SMS CAR to 43187.
Masandawana want to impress the Yellow Nation with victory in the first clash against Stellies to get to the second encounter with huge smiles. However, the maroon and gold outfit want to dominate headlines as the football brains that knows how to stop Bafana Bastille. This is the first leg of the MTN 8 semi-final. Catch Mamelodi Sundowns FC versus Stellenbosch FC Wednesday, 28 August at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4, SABC 3 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Every day our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org.
Your own panel beater is like that route you always use to get to work, familiar and feels right. Outsurance gets it. Fortunately, with Outsurance Essential, your claim is paid out in cash to use your own panel beater. Also, get up to 1 million rand liability cover and other great benefits at a low cost. Outsurance Essential is priced for cars older than 5 years, valued under 125,000 rand and not financed. SMS CAR to 43187 or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Talking Point on SAfm. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You need to learn to set the bar high enough for yourself in everything, which is where I talk about average. You and this average attitude and your average grades, you will get us an average degree. Come and give us some average interview at KISS 100 or KTN. Then we'll give you an average position with an average salary. You will drive a little average car, and then you'll get yourself an average man, because me spendi kusumbua watu sawa. Yeah, you and your average man will get an average house. Me, I'm not materialistic. Me siko hivo. You will have some average kids and send them some average schools, and the cycle will start again. No! Be done with average. And you know something, ladies? We pull society up. In a world where every guy is wondering, haven't these chicks done too much? If you look at your mothers and your aunts, those who get it, if you look at women who matter, if you look at an organization where the chicks actually are kicking, the guys are on game. Because they can't be outdone. And it's in everything. They'll take a loan to buy a bigger car than me. The fact that I bought mine in cash is relevant. Lazima nikwe nandai kama ya karo. Which is good for all of us. But the minute as women, we begin to just, lower it a little. Staki kumusumbua. He's a man. He can take it. He can. By the way, right, Smita? You can take it. Don't lower the bar for anything. For anything, including yourself. Because at some point you wake up and you want more for your children. He's wondering, where shidako ni nini? When you start talking about children and you know that he's about to pop the question, starts saying, I am thinking of 3 children. I definitely think they should go to Harvard. Yay. Our guy's about to start looking for a promotion. Trust me. Because he's not losing you, but he's also thinking, with this chick I can go places. You see, a lot of girls will tell you the lie, and the lie is, oh no, guys don't like chicks who want too much. Jay-Z could have married any maroon-haired woman from Harlem. He married Beyonce. She got tunes and she knows how it's made. Let's go. Let's go. It's Ted Turner, and it doesn't matter where you look. When it comes to getting it done, guys are very clear. Deck out as you want to be addressed.
Deck out as you want to be addressed. That is Carolyn Mutoko. She's a Kenyan entrepreneur and a radio presenter, and she does opening motivation. I'm with you for the week for Kathy Mushashana on the Talking Point. I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi. It's Monday, the 26th of August, still Women's Month in South Africa. Welcome to the Talking Point as we are SAfm leading the conversation. Join whenever you want on 086 2032 086 2032. The SMS line 41391 41391. That will cost you R1.50. We are on WhatsApp 061 410 4107 061 410 4107. On X we are at SAfm Radio. Please hashtag SAfm Talking Point when you talk to us. We open the lines for you in this hour between now and 10 o'clock on the 086 2032 number. And between 10 and 11, the producers think I should ask this question. Over the weekend, Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi urged lawyers who fraudulently submitted claims to the health department to withdraw those claims in a period of 2 weeks, right? So that they can be pardoned. The lawyers can be pardoned. He promised that they won't be punished as long as they withdraw within the 2-week period that he's given. We're talking about that between 10 and 11. Listen to what he said. No, I don't have the clip. I'll play that clip later. Okay, here's what he said.
We wish to take this opportunity to make an offer to lawyers who might have knowingly submitted claims that are fraudulent to come and withdraw them within 2 weeks, and there will be no consequences. If you are a lawyer out there, you have submitted a claim in the category of fraud, please come and withdraw them. Nothing will happen to you.
And having listened to Dr. Motsoaledi, we thought to have a discussion between 10 and 11, right, around this approach, wondering if it makes sense and also if it's a good approach to be implemented by other departments. Right? If the government had to apply like a TRC-like approach where those who stole government funds over the years can be allowed to confess and pay back the money without being brought to justice, and could that help in the fight against corruption? And I did that disclaimer to say the producers thought so because, it's a sort of democratic approach when content, I suppose, is decided here as a team of 3. I'm the odd one out. And I bring it as a question to you also, to the open line, because I feel it's a bit of an overreach for me, for Motsoaledi. And I want you to tell me what you think before we have a discussion about it with Anele Yawa, the General Secretary of the Treatment Action Campaign, and Ruben Maliga, the spokesperson for the Public Servants Association, because we have the executive, which is the cabinet, we have the legislature, which is parliament, and we have the judiciary, which is the courts. And I do ask myself whether it's a bit of an overreach to offer a TRC-like thing to lawyers, right? Because what does it open? I ask myself. What can of worms does it open? Look at what happened at Tembisa Hospital, right? Look at what happened, the things that we heard at the Zondo Commission. Right, the things that we heard that are so shocking at the Zondo Commission. Yeah, somebody may say maybe they will come out, but what kind of precedence does it set? For me, the problem is the law is based on precedence, right? So because the law is based on precedence, what happens? Does it give carte blanche to anybody who may want to do the same in the future? Right? To steal in the future, to say, well, I will apologize. Ndizawutshontsha ngoku. Ndizawuxolisa. Xa ndixolisa ndizawufumana i-TRC or whatever. So that's the question I have, around the TRC-like approach to the people that have stolen, or this 2-week reprieve that Motsoaledi is giving to lawyers that may have stolen. But you can talk about that or anything else that is on your mind. Between 11 and 12 also, it's Women's Month still. As we're talking women's issues, we're going to enter the final week of Women's Month. We're going to continue profiling trailblazers. Oh, that word. Trailblazers in their respective industry. This morning we're turning our attention to the aviation sector and how in aviation, women are blossoming in advancing gender equality. In a recent global study, South Africa emerged as producing 10% of the world's female pilots, and it's making strides in diversifying female professionals in operations, in technical, in cargo, and other vocations in the field. So we're going to talk to Captain Annabelle Vundla, who's an Airbus 320 captain at South African Airways, and Poppy Mkize, who is Chief Executive Officer at South African Civil Aviation Authority. What's on your mind this morning? I want to hear what's on your mind on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or 41391, or on the WhatsApp line 061410 4107. We are on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. We are at SAfm Radio, #SAfm Talking Point, and we're going to go to break and then come back with your calls.
Oscar and Emmy winner Kevin Costner is John Dutton.